Hello, hello. We're back. Sorry about that, guys. I've made a couple of changes to the stream, and hopefully we'll be good to rock and roll. Apologies about that. Very limited with what I can do here on this remote setup. So, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Good to see you all. Didn't take too long. I've turned the music off and I've turned the sub count off. While they're very, very small, minute things in regards to the stream, it seems like that they're just taking too much resource out of the very, very slow internet that I have here. It's been a very long time since I've been on internet this slow. I wish I could connect to my phone, but it's yeah, hotspot's a little bit intermittent here as well. But yeah, good to see everyone. Good to see you. Hope you're good. No buffering for 10 seconds already. Good, an improvement. Yes, so you'll just have my dulcet tones to get you through this race, guys. Hopefully, yeah, we'll have no issues today. Of course, if it happens, it happens. We'll be back, of course, for Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time, where we have a triple header ahead of us. But we still have this Canadian Grand Prix coming up. So, but yeah, seems good now. Happy days, everyone. So yes, if you're just tuning in, there is a little bit of breaking news. Bottas and Zhou have taken penalties. They've taken penalties to enable themselves to change their rear wing, I believe, because of the wet weather conditions for this race now. They've decided to obviously go with more downforce, change the setup, and yeah, they was already at the back. They've kind of got nothing to lose, so that's understandable from them, and it could benefit them in the long run because, well, yeah, as we mentioned before we got cut off earlier, the Porsche Cup race earlier on, well, that was there was lots of crashes, lots of drivers going off track. This is a new surface, but they've relayed here. Of course, when it rains as heavy as it has done as well, it washes away all the grip that's been laid down, which isn't a bad thing, really, when you're racing in weather conditions, because on the wet line, you don't want that rubber that's been laid down on the circuit. Otherwise, you will lock up and more likely go off. So it's not a bad thing, but yeah, if you want it to rain, you want it to rain hard. So thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you for the appreciation. And yeah, hopefully we have no further technical issues as this race goes on, because I don't know, I've got a sneaky feeling it could be a long one tonight, guys. I think we could see a red flag or two. I think a couple of drivers are going to bin it. We could have a big crash here. Hopefully everyone will be okay, but that's just kind of my initial instincts. We'll see how everyone takes it in the first couple of laps, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, of course, we know how the FIA is very trigger happy to pull red flags with wet weather conditions, with the amount of spray that is displaced by this car, or these cars today. So that's really the main issue with wet weather racing, is that in F1 these days is the visibility. It's not the fact of that these drivers can't handle racing in the rain, it's the fact of that you cannot see cars ahead of you. The visibility is so bad, hence why they've been trying to test different ideas in regards to reducing that spray, but I just don't think they're going to do it with this current set of modern F1 cars. So is it raining already, Stuffey? Not from what I can see on the TV coverage. It has paused for the time being, but it was due to restart just as they're about to go on their formation lap, is what it was indicating. But 100% chance of rain. For risk of rain is 100% chance for this race. So yeah, definitely wet weather conditions, and Bottas and Zhou at the back of the grid there, changing their rear wings, going for a more higher downforce setup, which is much preferable for wet weather conditions, could benefit them in the long run. So, are all these stupid questions real, or are they just... But it is much better. Also, when is the race starting? In a few minutes' time, wherever you are in the world, on the hour. On the hour is when this race is going to get underway. Well, the formation lap at least, and then yeah, you have probably a couple of minutes after the as the formation lap gets underway. So on the hour until this race gets underway. So if you want to go make yourself a cup of coffee, grab yourself a beer, whatever it may be, get yourself some munch, some snacks. Now's the time to do it. Do I think Max is going to win today? He's got a possibility, but I couldn't tell you who's going to win this race today with these weather conditions. It's anyone's game. It is anyone's game. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. Thanks, James. Thank you for the update. Yeah, I've got the missus behind me. She's also giving me updates of well, updates on the race throughout, actually. She's definitely my number 2 today. And yeah, she's kind of my race engineer. She's my producer today, we could say, for this stream, giving me information, telling me when to look at the TV screen. So 720p, Todd. Yeah, it's because we are on a remote setup. The pin chat is now gone, but I am on holiday this week, so I am streaming with the hotel Wi-Fi, which is very poor, which is why we had to restart the stream. So I do apologise for that, but it's only for 1 week only, and then normal service will be resumed in a couple of weeks' time, back for Barcelona. So, hey Destiny, evening Daisy, good to see everyone back. Good to see the regulars. Please hit that like button, and if you haven't hit the subscribe button as well, can we get 25,000 subscribers today? Can we hit that milestone? I think I need just over 200 subscribers, and we have tyre blankets off, ladies and gentlemen. Tyre blankets off. Everyone on the intermediate tyres, apart from Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg. Interesting. Are they taking a gamble that heavier rain is on its way and that the wet weather compound tyre is going to be beneficial? We will see. But everyone taking the intermediate tyre, which throughout the modern era of this F1 car, well, the modern regulations anyway, the intermediate has been a much faster tyre compared to the wets, kind of making the wet tyre pretty much redundant throughout, since the ground effect era has been introduced. Imagine Ricciardo getting a podium. Yeah, I think we could have a couple of shock results today. Remember, a lot of drivers out of position. The 2 Ferraris, Leclerc and Sainz in 11th and 12th. Of course, anything is possible with these conditions. We're going to see drivers potentially make mistakes. It is raining again. Has started raining again, and that is visible on the track. So yes, this race is definitely starting under rain conditions. We'll see how much spray is actually displaced by these cars, but yeah, let's see. We're only less than a minute away until that formation lap gets underway, and we'll see how much spray is displayed in that formation lap. But yeah, that dash down to turn 1, it's a very short run down into turn 1. Are we going to see drivers lock up, make a mistake down into there, or are we going to see drivers taking it very cautious? So Norris has a good chance of winning today. Totally agree. I think if it was definitely dry conditions, I mean, they still are the McLarens, but if it was dry conditions, I would definitely say that the McLarens are probably favourite today, because they have that extra driver available to them. They have both their drivers lining up on the second row behind Russell and Verstappen, where both of their teammates are further down the grid. I mean, Perez definitely isn't going to be helping Max Verstappen today, and well, Hamilton needs to get past Ricciardo and Alonso pretty quickly, but it's going to be tough for him. We know how Alonso does like to defend a lot harder against Hamilton than anyone else on the grid. As the drivers are now on their formation lap, and we are only just a couple of minutes away until the Canadian Grand Prix, wet weather Grand Prix, is gonna get underway. Woo! Let's see what happens, guys. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button as well. Really appreciate everyone tuning into this stream. Over 1,000 viewers for this remote stream for this Canadian Grand Prix. We had amazing figures yesterday as well for qualifying, so I appreciate everyone. Keep tuning into these watch-alongs. They only keep getting bigger and better. And yeah, normal service, and I keep repeating myself, will be resumed in a couple of weeks' time when I'm back home at the normal setup, which I am truly missing right now. But we will make do. We will persevere and get through this. And yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for what is going to be a cracking race, I believe. So I hope someone throws. I hope there is drama today. I hope there is drama. I hope one driver doesn't just drive away with it. But George Russell, of course, isn't going to want to. He's going to really want to win this race today. Mercedes haven't been in this position for quite some time. So, Stream So Good is a bit ahead of yours. They've only just started the formation lap of mine. Well, yeah, that's what we do here. That's what we do here. So, just watching the TV coverage in regards to the amount of spray that is being displaced off of the cars, and I've seen it worse. I've seen the spray a lot worse. So yeah, we'll see if this gets any if this standing water gets any worse. Of course, these cars going round will displace the water. There is quite evidently a line forming as it stands with these cars going round on a formation lap, and with the cell of rain coming should last for around 10 to 15 minutes is what Daniel Ricciardo's engineer has just reported to Danny Rick. So as they line up on the start grid, guys, we have George Russell in P1, Max Verstappen P2, Lando Norris P3, Piastri P4, Daniel Ricciardo P5, Fernando Alonso 6th, Hamilton 7th, Tsunoda 8th, Stroll 9th, Albon 10th, Leclerc is 11th with Sainz in 12th. We have Sargent 13th, Magnussen 14th, Gasly 15th, Perez 16th, Hulkenberg 17th, Ocon 18th, Bottas 19th and Zhou 20th. Both of the Stake F1 drivers making changes to their setups and the rear wings of their cars, going for a wet weather setup and starting from the pit lane. So here we go, guys, only seconds away as the last driver, Ocon, is lining up on the back of this grid. Let's see what is going to happen for this Canadian Grand Prix. Here we go. Esteban Ocon, is Russell and Hamilton going to... Russell and Verstappen, apologies, are going to collide down into turn 1. We will see. Esteban Ocon has lined up on the back of this grid. Moments away. Lights are on. And it is... lights out and away we go there. And it's a very, very slow start off the line, understandably, in these conditions. And Russell... has he held the position down into T1 from Max Verstappen? It does seem like he has. Everyone through turn 1 at the moment. Maybe I've spoken a little bit too early, but Russell, importantly, has held off Max Verstappen there, as Tsunoda and Albon have lost a couple of positions, as has Logan Sargent there also. And there's a yellow flag. There's a yellow flag that was briefly thrown there in Sector 2, but it does seem like that has been swiftly taken away, and every driver has got through turn 1 intact. And you can see there that Sergio Perez, this weekend has gone from bad to worse, as he's already started losing 2 positions and is 18th place, all but dead last, as the 2 Stake F1 cars started from the pit lane. And, well, they are already on the back of the Red Bull. But importantly for George Russell and for Lewis Hamilton there, he made up a position on Daniel Ricciardo and is up into 6th place. Fernando Alonso also up into 5th as well, taking Daniel Ricciardo there at the start of this Grand Prix. Just watching the start of the race there, and it was a very, very slow start. A couple of drivers getting out of position as others were able to limit the wheel spin off the start line and get down into turn 1 and through turn 2 alongside some other drivers. But Magnussen, the biggest winner thus far, up 4 positions, 2 Haas's actually on the wet weather compound tyre, seems to be the best tyre at the moment, as they've lit them up. Hulkenberg up 5 positions, Magnussen up 5 positions. George Russell already put in a slight gap to the 2 McLarens, as you can see there, but of course expect drivers to maybe pull back a little bit until they get these tyres up to temperature with the level of spray. Max Verstappen wanting to waste no time whatsoever and go on the attack. As we can see, Leclerc has made a mistake there and dropped back a couple of positions. It looked like I'm just waiting for the for the track map to update, but you can see there, Charles Leclerc, I think, Charles Leclerc went through the chicane, and that is why his marker there was, and why he's lost a couple of positions now back down into P10. But Magnussen flying, absolutely flying on the wet weather tyres at the moment. Definitely the right tyre to start on. Those intermediates not working as well as the wet weather, and Hulkenberg gaining another position as well. The Haas's could have absolutely they're cooking. Absolutely cooking, the Haas's right now. That is a great decision for those two drivers, as Magnussen is up behind Lewis Hamilton. Look at that. Magnussen could be in the top 3 by the end of the next couple of laps. This is unbelievable for the 2 Haas drivers, as Hulkenberg is also over the back of Yuki Tsunoda, although we can see there, as Magnussen's got past Hamilton, there is so much grip in that wet weather tyre compared to the intermediates at the moment, and we are seeing the Haas's pick off the field, as Hulkenberg is up 7 positions, Magnussen is up 8 positions, and already on the back of Alonso. Look at that. Just look at that. We can see Gasly and Perez, incident noted, causing a collision, so there's been a slight incident between those 2 somewhere. But are we going to see drivers come into the pit lane now? Is that George Russell going? What's happened there with his marker? It looks like that he might have no, he's absolutely fine. But Magnussen is up 9 positions into P5. This is unbelievable right now. The only reason he doesn't have the fastest lap is because he has been just overtaking the whole field. Hulkenberg up 8 positions as well into P10. Magnussen is going to be on the back of the two. He's going to be on the back of Piastri come the end of this, before the end of this lap, and it is very wet out there at the moment. Very wet. The spray is very limited, the visibility is very limited with the spray. That's why you can see kind of the gaps forming there at front with Russell, Verstappen and Norris. But Piastri is about to be absolutely eaten up by Kevin Magnussen, who is setting purples in the first sector there as he had a little bit of free air, but he's caught up to Piastri in the space of just a couple of corners. And no doubt, with that extra grip that he's having out of the corners, will head straight down into turn 8. Will he have an opportunity at Piastri? It doesn't look like at the moment, but Nico Hülkenberg on the back of Daniel Ricciardo there, and will be a matter of time until he is looking to make his way up towards the top 5 also. But Alonso under threat from Lewis Hamilton. You can see there Hamilton got very, very close behind Alonso, or he is close behind Alonso, and will no doubt be. Oh, he's got ahead. Has he got ahead of Fernando Alonso there? That looks like it on the track map. No. Fernando Alonso stays ahead, but Magnussen is ahead of Oscar Piastri as they head down the back straight into turn 13, the Wall of Champions. No further investigation for the collision between Perez and Gasly, but we can see here Magnussen is nearly in the podium positions, guys. He's nearly in the podium positions. They've pulled an absolute blinder here, the two harsh drivers. Both up 10 positions there, you can see on the screen. What is going on here? Of course, if any of these drivers decided to take the wet weather tyres now, it could benefit them. But of course, these conditions aren't supposed to last. They are only supposed to last for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then the track will start to dry up again and the intermediate tyre will be much better. However, the way Magnussen and Hülkenberg are going, they're going to be gaining so much time that we could see, well, they might gain such a lead on people. I don't expect them to win this race, but wow, this is really really intriguing right now as Magnussen fastest in the first. He's 6 tenths quicker in the first sector over Russell, nearly a second quicker than Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. We can see here as Magnussen, let's see his second sector time, a 36.1 last time around, but that was with the overtake over Oscar Piastri, a 29.9. He's flying, absolutely flying. And Nico Hülkenberg, while he's not purple, is also setting very similar sector times as he is on the back of Lewis Hamilton, who wasn't able to get past Alonso last time around. But this is really providing some drama at the start of this race. I predicted drama in this race, guys, but I did not expect it to come from the two Haas drivers. This is unbelievable. This is great. Kevin Magnussen taking revenge from Monaco. Very much on his redemption arc. So Magnussen this time around, as he crosses the start finish line, sets the fastest lap of the race, a 33.9, and in comparison to Russell and Verstappen, well, that is over a second quicker, over 1.2 seconds quicker than Max Verstappen, and well, that was 6 tenths faster than George Russell. So George Russell is putting the gap on Max Verstappen now, that gap nearly to 3 seconds. Lando Norris 2 seconds behind Verstappen also. He's going quite comfortably, but of course they're probably those three just dropping back slightly out of the spray just to ensure they've got some visibility and make these tyres last, as the track should eventually come back to them. But at the moment, the ascendancy is for Max Verstappen, is in the Haas driver's hands. But we can see there Logan Sargent just dropped a few positions. I think he made a mistake and dropped a few positions there. But we can see Sainz has dropped back 2 positions to 14th. Leclerc hasn't made up any positions either. Daniel Ricciardo, the biggest loser at the... Well, Daniel Ricciardo and Tsunoda, the biggest losers at the moment, down 4 positions in 9th and 12th. But these intermediates, the current conditions, the intermediates are definitely not it, but the wet weather tyre most definitely is. Those two Haas drivers absolutely loving it out there as Magnussen 1.5 seconds behind Lando Norris there. And let's see how much time he makes on Lando. He was over a second quicker last lap. Let's see how much time he makes just out of the last corner here as they head across the start finish line and through the turn 13 and 14, the Wall of Champions. But you can see Hülkenberg. Problem for Hülkenberg now will be visibility. He won't only just have Hamilton in front of him throwing off spray. He's got to worry about Alonso and Piastri, who is slightly ahead, as Piastri is starting to struggle, it seems, on those intermediates. But we can see Verstappen, okay, Verstappen getting a move on now. That was a much better time from him, a 33.8. as Magnussen didn't have a good first and second sector, and a 34.5 from him, not as quick as we have seen. Is the track now starting to come back? Is it still raining out there? Let's just have a look at the TV coverage. It does look like the TV coverage is still indicating rain at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on those lap times of Magnussen and Hulkenberg to see when the crossover period is occurring. But Max Verstappen definitely turning on the afterburners now, a 27.0 in that first sector. That's 3 tenths off of Russell alone in that first sector, but Russell responds with 2 tenths faster in that second sector. So maybe the intermediate tyre, maybe the track, there's a bit of sunshine actually, there's a bit of sunshine I can see displayed on the circuit at the moment, so maybe. And there's a yellow flag. Logan Sargent. Oh no, what's happened with Logan Sargent? Has he binned it? Is this going to bring out a safety car? Is he able to get the car going again? Logie Bear, what have you done? He's going very, very slow. I'm waiting for the TV coverage. He has gone straight on, it looks like, into the barrier, but stopped it just before, and he has got going again. So Logan Sargent locked up, and he was inches away from going into the barrier and potentially bringing out a safety car, but he is now at the back of this grid, down in 20th position after what was a good qualifying for him. But I think we've now seen the crossover, guys. I think we've now seen the crossover period of this race, because you can see there that the lap times now are coming to the intermediate runners up front. Russell and Verstappen trading fastest sector times there. Max Verstappen closing that gap now, which was nearly at 3 seconds, now to just over 2 seconds to George Russell. But we can see that Magnussen, a 34.6 last time around for him, a 36.1 for Hulkenberg last time out. And who is that who's just gone off? That was Lewis Hamilton, who had to concede a position to Alonso as he went through turn 1 and rejoined on the exit of turn 2. But let's see, I think Nico Hulkenberg 36.1 last time around, as we was mentioning. The wet weather runners now, I think the track is now coming into the intermediate runners. It's not as wet what the Haas's need, although Hulkenberg getting very, very close to Lewis Hamilton right now. There's not a lot of spray being displayed off these cars at the moment, and they're actually looking for the wet weather. They're actually looking for the wet patches as the sun is fully out, and the intermediates are definitely now. It's only taken 7 laps. So while, of course, Magnussen and Hulkenberg, we was looking at them, and they've provided us some early drama, guys. As Magnussen, into the pits, and will be no doubt going onto the intermediate tyres. He's just losing time where he is at the moment. We'll see if Nico Hulkenberg is also going to pit as well, or is he going to stay out for one more lap? He stays out for one more lap. But yes, that is Kevin Magnussen. A good start from him, guys. A good start. Of course, not able to keep it there for that long, of course, because of the changing conditions now. But it was a gamble that at least provided us and some early drama. We'll see when others make pit stops, if, of course, they'll be able to stay out longer. I'm sure they will. But Hulkenberg, where's Magnussen going to come out? Has he come out just ahead of Carlos Sainz there? He has. Sainz gains the position on Kevin Magnussen as he's come out of the pit lane there. The pit lane joins on the entry of turn 2. Round on the exit of turn 2. So Magnussen just lose that position to Sainz there. But importantly for him, he is ahead of Ocon, Perez, Gasly, Bottas, Zhou and Logan Sargent. But just looking at the replay of the start, guys, as we are 8 laps into this race. It was a slow start from kind of everyone, and George Russell very aggressively moved over to cover off Max Verstappen, who had to take avoiding action. If he'd carried on his trajectory, Max, he would have gone into the rear wheel of George Russell. But lots of cars wiggling, a very, very cautious start from every driver at the start of this Canadian Grand Prix. And I'm quite surprised we didn't see much more. But Daniel Ricciardo got pushed out by Fernando Alonso at the start of the race. And because of that, he just lost so many positions. And it was, there actually was big contact between Sergio Perez and Pierre Gasly on the exit of turn 2 in this first the start of this race. And I'm just looking at the replay, and I think it was there's nothing Perez can do. Perez is as tight to the apex and the car as possible. I think it's just a lack of visibility and kind of awareness from Pierre Gasly, and he snaps across Perez's nose, and I'm surprised actually that he hasn't got taken a pit stop yet, Perez, for a new front wing, because he definitely lost a front end wing plate, I think, there from the Red Bull car. But as the track is drying up, we're now starting to see the top two, Russell and Verstappen, pull away from the field as we see the two McLaren drivers, Norris and Piastri there, ahead of Alonso and Hamilton. Hamilton eyeing down his old teammate, his old nemesis of Fernando Alonso, the two oldest drivers on the grid. We've seen previous of them going wheel to wheel at this circuit before over the years, and yeah, we'll see how that battle gets on. But Verstappen closing down that gap on George Russell at the moment, 1.7 seconds behind George Russell, but George Russell takes the fastest lap and then it's snatched away by Verstappen, who's definitely in the ascendancy. The two McLaren drivers now looking to get close up that gap also, as Lando takes the fastest lap away, a 29.8 from him. So the two McLarens still nicely positioned here, even though they're 8.7 seconds behind George Russell. Of course, anything can happen in these conditions. But Leclerc is reporting impossible to overtake with this issue, to be honest. He is slow in the straight lines. For you Ferrari fans, unfortunately, this is a weekend to forget for Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, as Charles is in P10 at the moment and is looking vulnerable to Yuki Tsunoda of all people. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in to this Canadian Grand Prix. We are remote for this weekend. We are streaming from my hotel room, and yes, that is why you cannot see my beautiful face this weekend, but it has been with bringing you these watch-alongs regardless. 4.2k in here. If you can hit that like button, if you haven't subscribed already, please do, guys. We'll be back in a couple of weeks time for Barcelona. We're trying to get over 25,000 subscribers in this stream. What a milestone that will be, and it will be thanks to you guys. But yes, I'm seeing lots of comments in regards to why is there no actual proper live stream TV coverage. Well, that would be copyright, but the channel would be removed, as well as other channels as well. So yes, that's why we have the data, and the track map is the next best thing. And yeah, that should kind of be common knowledge to most of you. That's the reason why live sports are only available on cable or Sky TV packages. So yeah, if you want to do that, you have to pay for that service. But we're providing you the next best thing. And well, Verstappen, another fastest lap from him, up there in 29.2 compared to George Russell. Half a second he's just taken out of George Russell and Verstappen there. And wow, an incident involving Daniel Ricciardo under investigation. A full start for Daniel Ricciardo. I will be interested to see where that is, but there's quite evidently a much drier line forming at the moment, but with no DRS available, Max Verstappen, he is catching George Russell, but he's just not able to gain enough on him at the moment to make a solid overtake. As you can see, just losing a bit of time in the middle sector there, half a second through the middle sector, as Lando Norris now setting purples everywhere, trying to close down that gap on the top three. Hopefully he can, and provide us a three-way fight at the front, as well as Oscar Piastri too. Lewis Hamilton still stuck behind Fernando Alonso without any DRS assistant. We can see a train forming behind Nico Hülkenberg, the only driver to still be out there on the wet weather tyre. It was the tyre to start on, but definitely not the tyre to be on right now, hence why his teammate Magnussen came off of it, is back onto the intermediates. But you can see Hülkenberg holding up Daniel Ricciardo, Lance Stroll, Charles Leclerc, Tsunoda, Albon, Sainz, all aboard the Hulk train. We'll see if Daniel Ricciardo makes a move on Hülkenberg through the hairpin there. They definitely went side by side. And Ricciardo, is he going to have a run on Hülkenberg down into turn 13? Let's see if he's going to do it, as Daniel Ricciardo got very, very close to Hülkenberg and looked to make a move. And we can see here Daniel Ricciardo, has he got the move done into the Wall of Champions? And he does. Daniel Ricciardo gets through past Nico Hülkenberg and allows him to get some free air. He's currently being investigated for a false start. Yet to see that on the TV coverage. And that was a good move from Daniel Ricciardo, who went round the outside of Nico Hülkenberg into that corner. And well, it looks like Nico Hülkenberg is just going to be picked off. Maybe they're goal hanging for a potential safety car, but he is going to be picked off on these wet compound tyres at the moment. But we can see Verstappen is within within that 1 second of George Russell. And there's a 5-second time penalty to Daniel Ricciardo for a false start. Wow. Wow. I'm yet to see the replay, but that is going to hurt Daniel Ricciardo, who's currently up in P7. He will have to take that 5-second time penalty at his pit stop, because of course no pit stops have been made as of yet. But George Russell, there's no DRS conditions yet, guys, because of wet weather conditions. Until the track is deemed dry enough, then the DRS will be opened. As we can see, Hulkenberg getting swallowed up there by Charles Leclerc, and it seems Nico, possibly Yuki Tsunoda as well. And it is Yuki Tsunoda's got ahead of Nico Hulkenberg into the turn 11 hairpin, and he's just falling back through the pack here. But Verstappen at the front of this grid, at the front of this pack, is all over the back of George Russell, but he can't find a way through just yet. How long will it be? You do think it's only a matter of time, because George Russell just doesn't have a response to the lap times and the pace that Max Verstappen can set in the early stages of this race. Nico Hulkenberg pitting onto the intermediate tyre, no doubt. Definitely not dry enough for slicks, that is for sure. As Russell is being told not to wear the tyre too much. So George Russell potentially doing some little bit of tyre saving at the moment. But the longer he holds up Max Verstappen, the better this will be for the McLaren of Lando Norris, who is in P3 at the moment. Fastest middle sector for him, a 28.1. And that gap is closing down 6.5 seconds to Max now. Piastri sitting back 7 seconds behind his teammate, it looks like also. So Piastri kind of needs to get a move on. But Lewis Hamilton looks a lot closer to Fernando Alonso this time around. How much toe is he going to get from Alonso? And will we have an opportunity at a move down into the turn 13 hairpin without DRS? It does seem like that that Mercedes is just struggling a little bit, and you can see Hamilton just unfortunately stuck behind Fernando Alonso at the moment, and and Hamilton's just not willing to make any move that could potentially ruin his race, because Fernando Alonso, we do know how hard he defends and how he can get his elbows out, especially when it comes to Fernando Alonso. But we can see Verstappen, let's join back up front, as Lando Norris really chasing down Verstappen and Russell at the moment. 5.4 seconds now, Norris to Verstappen. He is definitely closing that gap, and Verstappen is consistently around half a second behind. You can see pretty much identical lap times last time around, only a couple of hundred separating Russell and Verstappen last time out. But Verstappen just backs off a little bit as they head into turn 10, and maybe hoping to get just a bit of visibility. Is there any visibility issues at the moment? It doesn't look like it. I'm watching the TV coverage and I can see Max Verstappen pulling over to the wet line to actually cool off his tyres. There is a clear and evident dry line forming now, guys, as we can see Norris setting fastest sector after fastest sector, but Lewis Hamilton takes that away from him, but just of course kind of means nothing at the moment going fastest in the middle sector, because he cannot get past Fernando Alonso. But the drivers are seeking the wet line to cool down their tyres, and there is rain, ladies and gentlemen, in 18 minutes time. That is what is forecast, and that is what was just turned up on a graphic on TV. 18 minutes time, there is more rain due. So really, it is all about these drivers making this intermediate tyre last. As George Russell, these tyres are going to it's going to get very, very slidey for a lot of drivers out there, because if they know this rain is on its way, they are going to wait. They're going to wait for this for this rain to turn up. But that's a long time to be still on an intermediate tyre where these wet weather this track is drying out and there is a dry line that's forming. But Lando Norris closing that gap at 26.8 last time around. You can see there in third place, 3.8 seconds behind George Russell and Max Verstappen now. But is he taking too much time out of his? Is he taking too much life out of his tyres? What do McLaren have in mind? Will Lando Norris just get onto the back of Verstappen and then start to coast and just eke out these tyres? This is going to be a very, very intriguing race, guys. Very intriguing race. that we have here, with no DRS activated just yet, as once again Lewis Hamilton goes fastest in the middle sector, but he's too far behind Fernando Alonso to have a go. But let's have a little look down further the grid, as George Russell once again holding off Max Verstappen, getting very slidey through the exit of turn 2, as Lando's got that gap down to 3.4 seconds. Piastri also closing down the gap now as well, getting a slight little move on to catch up to his teammate. Let's head down. So Ricciardo has a 5-second time penalty, guys, for a false start, trying to pull out a gap here on the likes of Lance Stroll, Leclerc. Yuki Tsunoda ahead. Charles Leclerc is nursing an issue. They're down on top speed. Not entirely sure what that issue is, but they're down on top speed, and it's not going to be a good weekend from them. Yuki Tsunoda in P10 at the moment, lost a few positions at the start, looking to hold off Alex Albon, who is in P11. They're fighting for that last points position, but they do have the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz in P12, yet to gain any positions, as he's currently where he started. Kevin Magnussen, who charged at the start of this race on the wet weather tyre, all that work has kind of come to nothing, as he is in P13, only up one position where he started on the intermediate tyre. Esteban Ocon, the biggest gainer thus far, 6 positions up for Esteban Ocon. Good going from him. Perez in 15th. Of course, we know that he's made contact with Gasly. Not his fault. Gasly just didn't see him at the start of the lap and swiped across the front of his car and took the front wing end plate off of the Red Bull. So no doubt he'll be getting a front wing change when he makes an eventual pit stop. Pierre Gasly in 16th, Bottas 17th, Zhou 18th, Hulkenberg, who likewise charged at the start of this race, as Lando Norris sits another fastest lap at 26.5, 1 second behind Max Verstappen now. We've seen this before. We have seen this before from Lando Norris, as Max Verstappen on the TV coverage actually made a mistake and had to cut the corner, and looks like, I think he's got damage to the floor of his car there. There was definitely carbon fibre that flew off of the Red Bull as it was as he had to bow out of the corner and go over turn 2, and there was definite carbon fibre pieces that flew off of the underside of that Red Bull car. I'm just watching a replay now as he goes through the corner, and where does he lose control? He locks up. Oh, it's like mid corner, and I don't know if that's his. I think it was definitely carbon fibre that flew off of the Red Bull car, unless that's from Perez's incident earlier on in the race. But that's got Lando Norris all over the back Max Verstappen now, and given some free air to George Russell, as he looks in his rearview mirrors and sees that Red Bull car a little bit far behind him. But once again, as was the case in Miami, Max Verstappen could have taken a few chunks out of his floor with a driver mistake, and he now has the charging Lando Norris all over the back of him, and DRS is now enabled. DRS is enabled, and that is massively important for Lando Norris, and that is a real shame for Max Verstappen and you Max Verstappen fans, because the only thing really holding him back from George Russell was a DRS assistance, and well, he's definitely not close enough to George right now, and he will be on defensive mode as Oscar Piastri sets the fastest lap in the last sector there, and the fastest lap of the race at 26.4. So this race is hotting up. We may start to see some more overtakes, especially Lewis Hamilton, who has been stuck behind the rear wing of Fernando Alonso for the duration of this race. We still have 53 laps remaining, and it's around 10 minutes, guys, just under 10 minutes until the next lot of rain arrives. Oh, this race, stay tuned, guys, stay tuned. This race is not over by any means, but let's stay with Verstappen and Lando Norris, and let's see if Norris will have an opportunity at Verstappen down into turn 13. He will have DRS, but is he close enough out of the turn 11 hairpin? Of course, catching is one thing, overtaking is another. You can see Piastri starting to get a move on as well and try and close down that gap, but Norris has DRS open. Does he have enough to have an overtake down into turn 13? No, he doesn't. Wasn't close enough out of the last corner, and of course, while he potentially could have a go, needs to eke these tyres out with especially another lot of rain on its way. How about Lewis Hamilton? He's 6 tenths behind Alonso. Will he have a go with DRS enabled now? He's been stuck behind him throughout the duration of this race, Lewis Hamilton, and he just backs off a little bit, doesn't have enough, and these drivers need to be careful because they're trying to eke out these tyres as the next lot of rain is on its way. But Verstappen starting to close that gap down again to George Russell, as he's definitely in tyre saving mode. But purple sectors being traded all across the race here, but George Russell quickly, or that leading pack quickly catching Logan Sargent, Nico Hulkenberg and Joe there, but we can see Stroll is catching Daniel Ricciardo at his home race, looking for a points finish. Alonso doing tremendous work in that Aston Martin at the moment, as Piastri is just looking to close down that gap on Russell, Verstappen and Norris and get involved in this race. Ooh, what a race we have in store, guys. What a race we have in store. If you can hit the like and subscribe button, remember, we're trying to get over 25,000 subs. I have no idea where we are in regards to that achievement, but if you can do, it'd be much appreciated. And yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, as Oscar Piastri is, well, setting fastest sector after fastest sector. He's definitely been given the green light to just go charging, as Lando Norris gets up close behind Max Verstappen again, but can't overtake him. He will have another set of DRS as they head down into turn one. He is looking close, but not looking close enough. There is a clear and evident, of course, dry line out there now. They are on intermediate tyres. This is not normally what we would see, guys. We would see these drivers go into the pit lane at this stage if there was no rain, more rain on the way, and they would dive into the pits and take a set of slick tyres. But because we have rain forecasted and due very soon, they are still out on the intermediate tyres, and well, it's going to be very, very slippery when that rain eventually arrives, and that is most likely when we will see the first lot of pit stops, I assume, because these tyres have taken a fair old battering. There's no way that they're going to be able to drive these in the rainy conditions, in the wet conditions, that is for sure. They're going to be bald. So, yeah, remember when Lewis Hamilton drove in Turkey all those years ago and basically turned his intermediate tyres into slicks? That's basically what these drivers are doing now, and you can see that whenever they have the opportunity, they're going over to the wet line to cool off the tyres. So, yeah, we will see, but I'm yet to see when the next update is of as Lando Norris goes side by side. He's got a move done on Lando Norris, got a move done on Max Verstappen with the DRS open down into the Wall of Champions, turn 13 and 14, and he is ahead of Max Verstappen, setting the fastest lap of the race, and he will now have his eyes set on George Russell. The two McLarens are moving, guys. The two McLarens are moving because Piastri has set fastest lap for the third lap in a row. He is 5.4 seconds behind Max Verstappen now. And Lando, the two McLarens, we've seen this do them. We've seen them do this as Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest lap at 25.2 actually, and just watching the move on TV now, and Lando just decided to use a bit more grip out of the turn 11 hairpin, and well, yeah, it was an easy move, easily done down into turn 14, 13 before he even got there. But of course, there's a very, very long way to go in this race. Still 50 laps remaining, guys. And well, there is more rain on the way. But Lando could be taking the lead of this race before the end of this lap. Could we see two overtakes in a row? He's less than half a second out of the exit of turn 11. He will have DRS assistance. He won't have to worry about Max Verstappen behind, who doesn't have DRS available. Are we going to see two overtakes in a row from Lando Norris and take the lead of this Canadian GP? Lando Norris is the leader of the Canadian GP, with his teammate Piastri closing that gap down very quickly, as George Russell had to go through the chicane and has lost a position in a space of just a couple of corners. He has lost the lead of the race, and he's also lost P2 to Max Verstappen, as he had to take avoiding action by making a mistake as Lando Norris went past him down into turn 13, and George had to take avoiding action and go around the chicane, which is why he had to give the position to Max Verstappen. So it's gone from bad to worse for George Russell there, as he's not only lost the lead of the race, but he's also lost P2 as well. And Piastri is closing up this gap. But if we look shortly behind them, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso are just trudging along, as Hamilton's still struggling to get by the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. But it's a very weird one from George Russell there, really, that he didn't commit to the chicane. He lifted off, and I think he quite evidently made a mistake. He tried to slot in behind Lando Norris and ended up Max nearly ran into the back of George Russell there. It was a bit bit careless of George Russell as he rejoined the track. But yes, Norris now, look at him pulling away from Max Verstappen and George Russell. But of course, time in the pit stops here is going to be essential, guys. That is going to be essential, of course, with this race still yet to have more rain. And yes, turn 14 incident. George Russell and Max Verstappen are rejoining unsafely has been noted. It was... I'm not quite sure why George Russell moved all the way back over to the right-hand side here, as Hamilton is very, very close to Fernando Alonso as he comes out of turn 14. He will have DRS as they head down into turn 1. Is he going to have a move on Fernando Alonso? And he doesn't. He doesn't. It looks like he just backed out just enough there. He looked like he was going to have a move on Alonso down into turn 1, but he backed out of it. He was definitely gaining. Did Fernando Alonso go defensive? No, Lewis Hamilton did just back off of it. But you can see there Lando Norris on the back of Logan Sargeant. He already has a 4.5 second gap on Max Verstappen, with George Russell now having to look in his rearview mirrors with Oscar Piastri there 1.1 seconds behind. What a race this is thus far. But we can see Gasly has just taken the fastest first sector out of anyone at this race earlier on. So yes, this track is very much dry right now. Rain in 3 minutes time, ladies and gentlemen. Rain in 3 minutes time. Timing your pit stop here is going to be essential. The strategy teams, the pit crew, this is where they're going to earn their money, because Lando Norris, the McLarens, they need to time this perfectly, because I think, in all honesty, Lando Norris, this is his race to lose right now. You can see the advantage he's got over Max Verstappen. But of course, is it an intermediate tyre? Is it a wet tyre? How hard is it going to rain? Still yet to see what will be the case. Of course, we saw how Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg at the start of this race on the wet weather tyre was just absolutely gaining so much time on the field because they was on intermediates. So depending on the level of intensity of rain that comes down, of course you want to be either on the intermediates or the wets. That judgment needs to be taken into account as well, as Piastri is now into the DRS of George Russell, but George staying close enough to Max Verstappen. But you can definitely tell that Verstappen and Russell in the early stages of this race have taken a lot out of their tyres compared to that of Lando Norris, who we've seen it in the last few races has just been patient in the early stages of his stints and then just comes alive at the end of a stint to take out the tyres. This is very, very good performance, good driving from Lando Norris in the last few races, that is for sure. But Lando is cooking. Yes, Lando definitely cooking at the moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button, guys, if you haven't already. Lando Norris, it's the fastest last sector there, 32.6. So yeah, definitely cooking at the moment. And it is pretty much a dry circuit. It is a dry circuit at the moment. These cars, they're trying to search for wet parts of the circuit to cool down their tyres. But there's not any. There isn't really any. But they are not pitting, of course, onto any slick tyres because rain is due any minute now. Rain is due any minute and they're just waiting for this rain. There's a yellow flag. Is that Logan Sargeant? Is that Logan? It's Logan Sargeant. Of course it's Logan Sargeant. Logan Sargeant, it looks like he's most likely binned it in the turn 5 corner. What has he done? His car isn't moving. Is he going to be able to get going? This could be a safety car. This could be a safety car. And no, Logan Sargeant has binned it. He's round the other way. And, oh no, sorry, he hasn't binned it. He's just spun the car. But has he stalled the car? This is the important part. He is off to the left-hand side. And he's off the racing line. But, of course, he looks... That's a very... I mean, if he can't get that car going again, he is definitely going to bring out the safety car here. But Logan Sargeant has spun the car. And there is a safety car. There is a safety car. Wow. Wow. And rain is on its way. Rain is on its way. Wow, guys. What a race this has been thus far. What a race. But Logan Sargeant, of all people, has brought out the safety car as he spun it. He hasn't binned it. He spun it out of the exit of turn 4. And he hasn't been able to get the car going again. He's facing the other way. And because of that, there's no safe way for them to remove that car on circuit. So they have to bring out the safety car, of course, to nullify the track. if they can't, I mean, I'm sure they'll be able to get that car moved quick enough. But you can see there that drivers are making pit stops. You can see that Lando Norris kind of went past too soon. And is Lando going to lose time here? I think Lando could lose positions here, unfortunately, as Verstappen, Russell and Piastri have all made a pit stop. But you can see how slow the safety car is going, and Norris will make a pit stop, guys, and he is going to come out behind Verstappen, Russell and Piastri, and this isn't going to be good for Lando Norris, guys. He just was going through the chicane as the safety car got called, and it looks like that, unfortunately, while everyone is now going to come in and put on a fresh set of intermediate tyres with the rain on its way, also, I mean, they do have to, of course, reach a delta, or stick to a delta, I believe, in these conditions. So maybe Lando will still get away with it. We'll see, but I don't think so. As we can see the gap there, look, Verstappen really closing down there on Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu. We'll see. I mean, the McLaren pit wall are definitely going to be earning their money, that is for sure. But everyone into the pit lane, but you can see that gap, that interval to Lando Norris of Max Verstappen. He's not allowed to go full speed, that is for sure, but how much is he gonna how is Lando Norris going to come out? You can see Lando Norris is like tucked up right behind the safety car. Let's see if he's going to come out ahead of Max Verstappen. 17 seconds the gap is at the moment, and well, it does look like actually that it wasn't just a spin for Logan Sargent. He did hit the wall. He spun the car, sent the car around into a spin on the exit of turn 4, and well, he's broken his rear wing. So no wonder the car couldn't get going again under its rear over its own steam. But here we go. Here's the moment. Lando Norris, he's coming out of the pit lane, and he is going to, unfortunately, Lando Norris. You Lando fans, Lando is unfortunately going to come out behind his teammate. Is he? The track rejoins at the exit of turn 2, and Lando Norris, unfortunately, has rejoined behind George Russell and Max Verstappen in P1 and P2. That is a real shame for Lando Norris, who's been shafted by the safety car there. That is a real shame. But Max Verstappen has gained the lead of this race with a bit of luck, because he was definitely falling off. I mean, Lando had a 6. You could arguably say Lando had too much of a lead, guys. He had too much of a lead. He was 6-7 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen and George Russell, but then the safety car came out just as he was going through the last chicane, missed that all-important pit stop, and well, that allowed Verstappen, Russell and Piastri to pit and gain those positions on Lando Norris. Now the question will be, did Max Verstappen and George Russell, did they stick to a delta that they were supposed to be required to? I mean, no doubt, I'm sure they did, but Lando Norris, well, he's got to do it all again. He's got to do it all again, guys. Rain is due any minute, so they're all onto the intermediate tyres. We did see, of course, Lando Norris bide his time earlier on in this race and then just take control and head on. But you can see there, Lewis Hamilton, important for him, is ahead of Fernando Alonso. So this race has just flipped on its head with this safety car, as we have Max Verstappen in P1, George Russell in P2, the two McLarens of Norris and Piastri in P4, and Lewis Hamilton, who was stuck behind Fernando Alonso and couldn't get past him, has overtaken him in the pit lane and is now in P5 and can be used as support in the battle at the front of this race. Fernando Alonso in P6, Yuki Tsunoda in P7, Lance Stroll in P8, Yuki and Ocon still yet to pit, so we'll see what happens with them. I'm sure they'll pit now. They can't be expected to stay out on what is almost pretty much dry, almost in effect dry tyres now, because those intermediates will be bald because of how dry the circuit was. But we can see recovery vehicle on track at turn 4, so this is where the safety car now will be going very slow, because there's not a lot of room for error here. We don't want, of course, any issues with which we've seen in the past, of course, unfortunately, in F1 with recovery vehicles. But Bottas also yet to pit in P13. He's up positions. Perez down in 17th. Well, what do we need to say about Perez? Not much to say, really. But rain is on its way. There is still a dry line out there. at the moment, so everyone is expecting this shower to come in. What happens if it doesn't? If it doesn't, then of course the race is going to go to a dry race, and I suppose it's whoever's going to be brave enough to put on the slicks first. But wow, guys, this race, another 2 laps before restart for everyone to catch up. Most likely Steve, yeah, most likely. So, but yeah, let me know who you think is going to win this race, guys. Is Max Verstappen going to win this race? George Russell? Is it going to be Lando? Is it going to be Piastri? Hamilton? Of course, we've got a safety car restart to come still. We've got more rain on its way, which is why everyone is changing to the intermediate tyres. But wow, if Monaco was boring, yes, guys, we are now having a very, very interesting race to make up for the boring race that was Monaco. So, yeah, big thank you to everyone who's tuning into this stream. Over 5,000 viewers still. Thank you for sticking around. Of course, we are remote this weekend. I'm currently on holiday, so I am using the hotel Wi-Fi, which is why the crispness of the stream is not as it normally is, and of course why you can't see my beautiful face because the webcam on my laptop is a little bit iffy. So yes, very limited stream, but thankfully audio works, which is all important, and the data and the track map in front of you, and the chats. That's what's most important here, guys, is the chat. So big thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. So I'm just watching the restart of Daniel Ricciardo's false start. He got a 5-second time penalty, and oh dear, Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, you're talking inches, but Daniel Ricciardo, his false start, he just edges slightly ahead while he's releasing the brakes. But they're just looking at the weather radar, and there is a big fat old rain cloud on its way over the circuit. That is what we are waiting for right now. This is what all of the drivers out on circuit are currently waiting for, but I can't imagine it'll be long. The car, Logan Sargent's car, has been removed. It is clear in sector 4, and I imagine we will only be another lap, I reckon, another lap under the safety car, and then we'll be green racing. As Leclerc, oh, Leclerc's out last? What? Charles Leclerc is in 19th position. Looks like Charles Leclerc was slow. I think they've reset the car. I think Charles Leclerc was sat stationary after the tyres were put on his car. I think they might have done a hard reboot of the car, potentially. Something was slowing him down in the straights, and that's why he is down in... And he's on the hards? What? He's on the hard compound tyres? Very bold from the Ferrari team. This is either absolute genius from Ferrari, or this is very Ferrari-esque strategy. But here we go. Okay, actually, race is getting underway now. I thought we'd have another lap of safety car, but here we go. So here we go, guys. Race is back underway. Max Verstappen is your leader from George Russell, Lando Norris, Piastri, Hamilton. Of course, Lando Norris was leading quite comfortably in this race, but when the safety car came out, he has been outdone by the safety car. He had too large of a lead, as Max Verstappen, no doubt, is going to wait till the very last second with this short run down into T1 to get this race restarted and give those drivers behind him a very limited tow. But Lando Norris has to do it all that hard work again. Everyone at the moment, apart from Charles Leclerc, is expecting rain to arrive very soon, and Leclerc is out on the hard compound tyre at the back of your screens. He has had some technical issues which has caused him a lack of top speed, which is why he is now down in 19th position. And well, yes, actually, I think that's by design. Initially, Charles Leclerc did pit onto the brand new intermediates, but then has come back in again onto a set of hards. So maybe Ferrari, yeah, genuinely do think that there will be this rain is going to miss, but we will see. Time will tell. But Max Verstappen has comfortably held the lead here on this race restart in P1 from George Russell, Lando Norris in P3, Oscar Piastri in 4th, Hamilton, who got ahead of Fernando Alonso in the pit lane, who was stuck behind him throughout the beginning of this race, now has a McLaren to look ahead of him and is now in the top 5 of this race. Esteban Ocon still to pit, as is Yuki Tsunoda and Valtteri Bottas there, maybe waiting for even more of a safety car. I don't know, goal hanging for something else, we will see. But Max Verstappen pulling away from George Russell, of course, Lando Norris. The potential here, though, is, guys, is that it is a dry track. It is a dry track. The rain has not arrived as of yet. So these drivers don't want to go too quickly on these set of intermediate tyres before this rain arrives, because otherwise they will just not be suited and just have no grip when the rain turns up and we have wet weather conditions again. So this initial burst of pace from Max Verstappen and George Russell, I imagine Lando Norris will just be happy to do what he initially did, sit back, look after, and DRS has already been disabled. So DRS has been disabled. It was enabled and it's been disabled again, which indicates that the rain is coming down, and it is. The rain is coming down. I can see it on the TV coverage. The rain has arrived. So rain is here already. Charles Leclerc, why are you still out there on a set of hard compound tyres? Come back into the pit lane. Put on another set of intermediates, please. But Charles Leclerc, that gamble has not paid off for Ferrari. What are you doing? What are you doing, Ferrari? Absolutely despicable decision there to put him onto hard. I mean, he's absolutely tipping it down, ladies and gentlemen, on the TV coverage. I am not sure what went through their heads. I am not sure what Ferrari did. That is a missed Apex award if I've ever seen one. Unbelievable. He's going to get lapped. He's going to get lapped. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But let's head back up to the start of the of the grid, guys. As we have Max Verstappen leading 1.6 seconds ahead with Lando Norris in P3, Piastri in P4. DRS has been activated because it is definitely raining now, guys. It is definitely raining, and we are in the second phase of this race. We're not even halfway through. We still have another few laps remaining until we are halfway through this race. As I'm watching an overtake from Alex Albon, I believe it was, on one. Oh, Alex Albon. Oh, he got through and made two positions into the on Esteban Ocon and Daniel Ricciardo. That was a very, very good overtake from Alex Albon. A very risky one, as he is now up into P9. Of course, Esteban Ocon and Valtteri Bottas and Yuki Tsunoda are on used intermediates, but those used intermediates are pretty much on Charles Leclerc. Still not got round to the pit lane, by the way, guys. Still not got round to the pit lane. So, sorry, I just find that so funny. I can't believe what Ferrari were thinking. What were Ferrari thinking? This has been a terrible weekend for Ferrari. As Sainz is only in 13th place, and Leclerc, rightfully so, comes into the pit lane. I mean, they can't, mate. Are they going to retire the car? They might retire the car. We'll see. Maybe they'll make an excuse. You need a valid excuse, a valid reason for why you retire a car. But if I was Leclerc, I would not want to get back out on that track. That is for sure. But George Russell and Max Verstappen putting away from Lando Norris. But we did see Lando Norris in the first stages of this race. He did bide his time, as Leclerc is coming back out, ladies and gentlemen. So for you Leclerc fans, is he going to pull off? Is Charles Leclerc going to pull off a Jenson Button today? Remember, this is what happened with Jenson Button all the way back in 2011. He was dead last, and then there was another red flag, I believe. He got the benefit, and yeah, what a race that was. So never fear, Charles Leclerc could still win this race, guys. He could still win this race. But yes, that's not a great move from the Ferrari team, is it? Putting him onto a hard compound set of tyres. When the rain was quite evidently on its way, which it is here now. So, Lando Norris in P3, Piastri P4, Hamilton P5, Alonso in 6th. Yuki Tsunoda is still surprisingly going well and has quite a bit of grip on those used intermediates. Lance Stroll in 8th, Albon in 9th. He's looking to close up that gap to Lance Stroll. He's definitely pulling away from Ocon, who seems to be struggling on the 32 old lap intermediates. Daniel Ricciardo in P11, Valtteri Bottas in 12th. Sainz still not able to make ground on Bottas in front, as he nearly went into the back of Valtteri Bottas last time around at the hairpin, just misjudging the braking speed of Bottas as he is on used intermediates. But yes, Charles Leclerc on brand new intermediates now. He's just going to try and go as fast as possible. But will Max Verstappen and George Russell catch him before he's able to build up a gap to them? So yes, if you're just tuning in, guys, Charles Leclerc is not leading this race. Charles Leclerc is 19th position. If you're just tuning in, there's 7,000 of you in this stream. If you're wondering, why is Charles Leclerc at the front, but he's he's in 19th position. Well, that's because Ferrari did Ferrari things, and they put him on hard compound tyres when it started to rain, pretty much. So he has had an engine issue. Yes, he has had an issue with the car, which has left him languishing in the midfield throughout this race and down on top speed. But the decision still stands that Ferrari put him on hard compound tyres, and he just fell even further to the back as it started to rain. So, sorry? Danny Rick did take his penalty, yeah. Danny Rick was very fortunate, actually, that he took his 5-second time penalty for the full start as he crept across, only a couple of inches, really, but, of course, it's still a full start nonetheless. He was very fortunate he could take that 5-second time penalty under, of course, when everyone was pitting under the safety car. So he is only down in 11th position, but he is the biggest, other than Charles Leclerc, he is the biggest loser today, down 11 positions. Logan Sargent is down 7 positions in P20. But George Russell staying with Max Verstappen here in the early stages of this second stint. We have 37 laps remaining of this race. Will be 36, or nearly halfway through this race, guys. Only halfway through. But you can see that Valtteri Bottas, Ricciardo causing a collision. Turn 10, there was an incident that is being investigated. So we'll see what happens and what comes of that. But Verstappen just staying around 1 second, just under 1 second ahead of George Russell. Lando Norris sticking around in 1.2 second range, as is Piastri, as is Lewis Hamilton. They're pulling away the top 5 from Fernando Alonso. Any one of these guys in the top 5 now could win this race, I believe, with the current racing conditions. I'm not sure if it's going to be drying out. It looks like, but there's still... It is raining, but it's not raining heavily. There is a line, there is an evident line that is forming, and if the rain stops, then we are going to see very quickly that this track dries up again. But of course, what the issue is with that is that it makes it very difficult to overtake outside of that wet line, of that dry line. But the drivers are seeking wet patches to cool down these tyres still, as it's very close between the top 5, as you can see. As Verstappen looked like he just got a bit of a move on there in that first sector compared to George Russell, a 25.4, whereas George Russell was almost 26 seconds through that first sector, and we can see that they're making a bit of a move on in that last sector also. But lots of drivers having track limits deleted at turn 14 as they're going through, heading down into the Water Champions chicane, and yeah, they're all struggling really with the grip and the braking down into that corner. But Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc is going to be getting blue flags very soon, guys. Very soon. Unfortunately for him, down in 19th position. He is the last of the runners. But of course, anything can happen at the Canadian Grand Prix. We've seen some real crackers here in the past, and it's shaping up to be another one. And thus far, it's been very eventful. Lando Norris was leading by 6 or 7 seconds when the safety car was brought out by Logan Sargent, and unfortunately for Lando Norris, had gone past the pit lane, was going past the entry to the pit lane as the safety car was brought out. It was too late for him to enter, and that allowed Verstappen and Russell to box and get ahead of him under safety car conditions. So a bit of a shame for Lando Norris, but he did evidently have the pace on Verstappen and Russell. So this race is not over by any means for Lando Norris, as Hamilton is looking at the back of the rear wing of Oscar Piastri. He's getting very close to him, just around 2 tenths. There is no DRS allowed just yet, although it does look like the track is starting to dry up again. I think the rain has subsided for now. And we could very well see as Charles Leclerc getting lapped. It's not what we wanted to see this weekend. The Ferrari of Charles Leclerc getting lapped, ladies and gentlemen. That is yes, that is not an issue with the stream that you're hearing right now. That is fact. Charles Leclerc has just been lapped by Verstappen, Russell, Norris, Piastri, and Lewis Hamilton. It wouldn't surprise me if they decide to. They conveniently come up with an excuse of Charles Leclerc. They've got a phantom mechanical issue, and he decides to pit. So yeah, not great, guys, unfortunately for Ferrari fans. We thought that they would kick on after Monaco. We wanted a driver championship battle or a constructors battle, and well, Max Verstappen is currently in P1 and will be extending that lead at the top with both Ferrari drivers out of the points. And of course, while Perez is out of the points also, Max is currently looking to stand to gain the maximum 25 points for the race win. He doesn't currently have the fastest lap. But yeah, Ferrari, no surprise at all. Yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame. Not sure what happened with them this weekend. It's always been a pretty good track, Canada, as well. So it's a bit of a shame that they've ended up, of course, not even getting into Q3. But even if they did get into Q3, I don't think they've had the pace here this weekend, which is a real shame. But it does seem like Magnussen's about to get overtaken by Sergio Perez. Is he about to make an on-track overtake? Sergio Perez, it's been a shocker of a weekend for him. And Sergio Perez he's up into P15. Woo! Well done, Perez. Well done. W's in chat for Perez. It's been a terrible weekend from him after signing a 2-year extension with the team. What a way to repay the team for signing you on for 2 extra years, not get the car out of Q1 and currently be P1 after 38 laps of the race. Well done, Sergio. Well done, Sergio. But Verstappen now 2.5 seconds ahead of George Russell, as it looks like the sun is starting to peek through the clouds again on circuit. But Sergio Perez, did he hold on to that position? He went side by side through Magnussen, I saw, through turn 2, and he did. Sergio Perez did hold off Kevin Magnussen there, but Kevin, as Kevin likes to do, decided to have a little nibble back at Sergio into turn 2, but thankfully they both made it through that corner unscathed. But can I bring back radio chats? No, not really, because it's just the AI still isn't good enough, and they just go through too quickly that we don't even get to really see and focus on actually what the drivers are saying. So that's why I've removed that element from these watch-alongs, because yeah, it's just kind of gumph that we can't even keep up to date with. Is Mattia Bonotto team principal this race? Pitting under safety car is a bullshit rule, takes away driver skill. Yeah, it's the aim of the game though, unfortunately. Sometimes you're the benefit of it, sometimes you're not. And yeah, unfortunately for Lando, he wasn't this time around. But let's have a look. Still a long way to go in this race. We have 32 laps remaining. Verstappen is 3 seconds ahead of George Russell as it stands. There is a dry line forming again. It looks like the rain has stopped. I'm not sure if there's more rain forecast to come down later on in this race. But remember, Lando Norris, earlier on in the first stint, did exactly what he's doing now. Just sat back, bided his time, looked after his tyres, and then he put on the afterburners and just breezed past George Russell and Max Verstappen. We're seeing that again, although the difference this time around is that Max Verstappen is out front and George Russell is in P2. So Max has obviously has clean air ahead of him to get away. But we can see without the assistance of DRS how difficult it is to pass here at the moment. Lewis Hamilton just still not able to get past Piastri in the McLaren. But of course, it's maybe a little bit too early in this race to start getting racy, as DRS, speak of the devil, has been activated. So that indicates how dry the track has got now. So the track has got dry, so we do have DRS enabled. Less than 100 till 25,000 subscribers. Oh, lovely. Yeah, guys, if you could hit that subscribe button and get that number to over 25k or just 25k, that would be amazing. There's no sub counter on the stream today, so I can't see how many people have subscribed, and I don't have alerts on. So big thank you to everyone who has subscribed today. Much appreciated. I did see a donation at the start of this stream as well, and I do apologise that I missed that. I will go back and read that at the end. So big thank you. And if you can continue to hit in the like button as well, we are building a great community here. These streams, the fact of it, I do have over 6,000 viewers, over 5,000 viewers on a remote stream, is with just kind of NAF set up personally, is real makes me really happy, guys. Makes me really happy. So yeah, big thank you to everyone. We still have 31 laps left in this race, and it's going to be a cracker, I think, because Lando purple in the middle sector as DRS has now been activated. Purple in the middle sector. Are we going to see Lando now go for that push? Now, are we going to see it go for that push? A 24.2 for Lando last time around, but Hamilton takes it away with a 23.8. So let's see. This is where the race is going to get racy, guys. Going to get racy. Thank you, Nick. Pleasure. Thank you. Glad you enjoy it. Yeah, normal service will be resumed in a few weeks' time for Barcelona. Our first of our triple header. Barcelona, Red Bull Ring, and then Silverstone, which I'm really excited to see this season. So Gasly is the driver to... apologies if you just got a little bit of buffer in there, guys. Seems like I had it on my end as well. Is the yellow flag as Gasly? Has he just gone off? No. Why are you throwing a yellow flag when Gasly is just rejoining the circuit? Don't do that to us. But we can see here that Gasly is the first driver. All of the teams will be looking at Gasly right now as the sun is fully out. The sun is fully out at the moment, but there are very dark clouds in the background. So I'm not sure if there is further rain or if that's just passed over the circuit, and that's what we just had over the circuit. But let's see, as George Russell sets the fastest lap of the race, a 23.7 compared to... What's happened to Lando? Lando, oh God, don't scare us there, timing cheats. What happened to Lando? I thought Lando just made a mistake and went down the time. Oh no, Lando did. Lando did make a mistake. Lando did make a mistake. He locked up. He had to go straight over the corner of turn 2. That is why we had the timing sheet there of Lando drop down to 5th place. And, oh, that's sneaky. Will Lando be asked to give those positions back to Piastri and Lewis Hamilton? They will be arguing, well, that is a mistake where he should not be afforded to maintain that position, which of course should not be great for Lando fans. I want him to do well as well after the initial charge that he took of this race at the start. But yeah, that was not good by Lando Norris, and I'm surprised he's not been asked to give that position back. But yeah, he just made a mistake, and we'll see. We will see. But what that has done is that George Russell is now holding up. The likes of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Even though he has set the fastest lap last time around, you can see Lando fastest in the last sector. A 25.6 for George Russell, whereas a 25.0 pretty much for Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen in clean air doing a 24.0. And well, if Lando wants to have any opportunity of winning this race, he will have to overtake George Russell and catch up to Max Verstappen. But we can see there, turn 1 incident, Lando Norris leaving the track and gaining an advantage is under investigate, or is noted. It has been noted, guys. So we will see if he will have to give that position back. As it does look like, unfortunately, guys, Charles Leclerc is in the pit lane and he is retiring the car. What a poor weekend for the Charles Leclerc. Not ideal for him. Cannot continue that run of form that he had after that great win in Monaco. Boring win in Monaco, you could say. But yeah, Charles Leclerc is out of this race, as we're starting to see drivers come into the pit lane and get onto the slick tyres. So let's keep an eye out. Magnussen on a set of medium compound tyres. Gasly on a set of hards. Not yet fast enough, faster than the intermediates, but we cannot be long for that crossover period. So keep an eye out on the times, guys, of Gasly and Magnussen, their last lap of what they have set. At the moment, it is still an intermediate. As Lewis Hamilton pulling the trigger. Okay, bold Mercedes, very bold. Quite like it. I quite like it. But where is he going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead of Lance Stroll? Where is he going to come out? Lewis Hamilton is surely on a set of medium compound tyres. Here we go. So Lewis Hamilton is going to come out in that pack, and we will see how much of an advantage, if he has any advantage at all. Is he just going to let Alex Albon go? He has let those drivers go. Of course, he just wants to focus on his tyre warm-up, but this is a bold move by the Mercedes team to put him on a set of medium compound tyres. But we can see here lots of teams pulling the trigger. The likes of Ricciardo and Sainz, also Perez, all now on a set of slick tyres. as we can see Sainz and Perez almost going side by side there on the exit of the pit lane. But we can see Gasly setting the fastest lap in the last sector, 23.9. It is definitely slick tyres now. But who's going to pull the trigger first? With those three or four up front, Piastri responds to Lewis Hamilton and pulls the trigger. You can see there Gasly, that is the time really that everyone was looking at, a 23.9 on a set of hard compound tyres, and no doubt with Valtteri Bottas just slightly ahead of him, it is definitely now a dry circuit. No more rain on its way. It seems it's passed us by, and we are seeing everyone dive into the pit lane. So Lewis Hamilton, has he been able to gain on that outlap and get past Oscar Piastri? Of course, Oscar Piastri will have to worry about the outlap here with cold tyres. He has got ahead of Hamilton and stayed out. So Lewis Hamilton coming out where he did was a little bit unfortunate for him, but Piastri will have to warm up these tyres, whereas Lewis Hamilton will have an extra lap of temperature in them. But who's going to pull the trigger out of the leaders? When is Max Verstappen going to come in? When is George Russell? When is Lando Norris? They're losing time now. As you can see, Magnussen setting the fastest middle sector as he's on a set of medium compound tyres, and Kevin Magnussen sets a 24.8, although he is in traffic. That is only half a second slower than Max Verstappen, George Russell and Lando Norris at the moment. Here they go, down through turn 13, turn 14. Max Verstappen into the pit lane. Max Verstappen goes into the pit, so does George Russell. Lando Norris stays out. Lando Norris stays out for an extra lap. Interesting, as Lando Norris is gaining an advantage. He did just set the fastest lap of the race though, a 23.9 Lando Norris. But you can see there, Lewis Hamilton fastest in the middle sector, losing a bit of time in the first sector. It seems to be quite a little bit wet there still, as they're in the high 25s. But the rest of the circuit is very dry, and you can see Lewis Hamilton is catching Oscar Piastri, a 26.0, one dramatically quicker in that middle sector as Oscar Piastri is on his outlap. Lewis Hamilton a 23.7 this time around, so it only really is that first sector where it is a little bit wet at the moment still, where these slick runners are, where everyone is on slicks now barring Lando Norris. Let's see, is Lando Norris, come on Lando, this is going to be important, this in-lap, it's hammer time for Lando Norris right now. He needs to make the most of these tyres. He's green in the first sector, green in the second sector. Come on Lando, his 20.3 second gap to Max Verstappen right now. Let's see, of course, this outlap for Max Verstappen is important as the fastest lap goes to Gasly, a 23.4 there, down in 15th position. But this is going to be very, very close. The McLaren pit crew, they need to be on it here. This is where they earn their money. Come on, McLaren. Or is Lando going to continue? Lando's going. Lando's still going on. Interesting. Lando is staying out. Okay. Interesting. Let's see. He's staying out. I'm really surprised about that, but Lando is staying out. He has just set the fastest lap of the race at 23.2. So Lando in clean air still on this set of intermediate tyres is still the fastest man out on circuit. But of course, Max Verstappen, once he gets those medium compound tyres up to temperature, how fast will he be? Keep an eye out on that interval time to Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Is there still not enough grip in that first sector to make up the time required in the on the set of slicks? We will see. Let's keep an eye out on Max Verstappen's first sector time. Everyone seems to be around 25 seconds, mid to high 25s in the first sector at the moment, as Max goes to 24.9. So Lando still around 6 tenths faster than Max Verstappen or the slick runners in the first sector at the moment, as Sainz does a 22.7 though. Gasly does a 22.7, and I don't think now there is enough grip in those intermediate tyres to get past Max, to stay ahead of Max Verstappen much longer. You can see that interval time coming down as he lost 6 tenths in the first sector. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. Can Lando Norris regain the lead that he lost, that unjustly lost, you could say, as he comes into the pit lane as well? There is no further action for him leaving the track and gaining an advantage. But here we go. McLaren, get him moving again. He is. He's on the move. But is Lando Norris going to get out ahead of Max Verstappen as he heads down into the first corner? He's going to rejoin into P2. It looks like Max Verstappen, he's probably going to stay ahead of Lando. They could be side by side as they head out of the exit of turn 2. Has Lando stayed ahead of Max Verstappen? He has! McLaren have got it done, but oh no! Max Verstappen has the drive with those extra few laps on the medium compound tyres, and Lando Norris just couldn't get the grip out of the pit lane on the wetter line, and Max Verstappen on the dry racing line as Lando Norris had a snap out of the corner. That was the issue there for him, and Max Verstappen on the racing line stays ahead of Lando Norris. It was so close, so close, but he does have a couple of extra laps, younger tyres on Max Verstappen. The exit of the pit lane is wet, and that was the unfortunate reason there why Lando Norris was not able to retain that position. There just wasn't enough grip for him on a set of slick tyres, and Max Verstappen was able to be on the dry line and just breeze past him. But this race is not over and done with. Importantly for Russell now, he needs to just hold off Lando needs to hold off George Russell, but he is going to be under attack here as they head into the turn 13 chicane, and thankfully for him, he does have Oscar Piastri close behind, who can keep George Russell preoccupied as Hamilton is setting fastest. He's got a bit of clean air and he's setting fastest lap here, and will most likely do and take it away from Max Verstappen as he crosses the start-finish line. A 19.5 from Lewis Hamilton there, a very quick lap from him, but it's definitely full dry conditions now, and there is room, ladies and gentlemen, for overtakes. That is for sure. It is going to be, is there room for overtakes? It does look like down the back straight there is, not really down into the first corner. But Lando Norris, we do know he does have pace in this McLaren. He just needs to get those tyres up to temperature. He's importantly held off George Russell for one lap as Lewis Hamilton, oh no, Lewis Hamilton charging through and trying to catch up to the back of the McLaren of this pack of Norris, Russell and Piastri. Just has a slight little off there, but he is still facing the right direction and can continue on as he did set the fastest first sector there and really looking to catch up. But George Russell chomping at the bit here. You can see no time really separating George Russell and Lando Norris, and Lando Norris might be just a sitting duck here and have to just accept his fate as George Russell has the DRS open, and George Russell gets past Lando Norris into turn 13, and unfortunately for Lando, this hasn't him staying out a bit extra. It just didn't quite pay off, of course, with that extra with that lack of grip out of the pit lane, and he also has to be careful of his teammate now. A real shame for Lando, but there's still 21 laps remaining in this race. 4.6 seconds separates George Russell and Max Verstappen. This is, of course, you would say Max Verstappen's race to lose. George is on the hard compound tyre. Will the medium fall off a lot sooner than the hard compound? We will see. And not a lot of tyre deg here at this circuit, but we will see. So Lewis Hamilton still facing the right direction. You can see there, very slow middle sector after that little wobble, but he is on the move. A 22.3 for him, fastest out of anyone in the first sector. And this time around, he gets the car through the turn 6 and 7 chicane and is looking to chase back down Oscar Piastri. And they're the last remaining podium position here with 21 laps remaining. Mercedes got pace, yes. Alonso train is crazy. Yeah, and that was what Lewis Hamilton got stuck behind earlier on in this race. Of course, he couldn't get past Alonso, and that safety car was well timed for Lewis Hamilton as he was able to get ahead of Alonso in the pits and free himself of the rear wing of Fernando Alonso. But Lewis there, you can see just a little bit off of his teammate who got fastest lap last time around on the hard compound tyres. And, well, have Mercedes played a bit of a blinder here? As we just mentioned, the hard compound to the mediums. George Russell is the only driver on the hard compound tyre out of the top 5. And, well, he just set an 18.1, which was 4 tenths faster than that of Max Verstappen. And will the hard compound tyre last a lot longer? Well, theoretically, it will last a lot longer than the medium compounds. But could this be what George Russell needs at the end of this race? We will see. Could Max Verstappen take too much time out of those medium compounds? And there's still 20 laps remaining. It's quite a long way to go in this race. Anything could happen as Piastri's starting to back off a little bit from his teammate and George Russell. As George Russell's gone off at the turn 8 chicane, and Lando Norris has got ahead of George Russell into turn 10, through turn 8 and 9, as George Russell made a mistake and went through the turn 8 chicane. We've seen so many drivers suffer with the turning of that corner throughout the course of this weekend, but Norris now will have to defend again from George Russell, who will have DRS open and be wanting to regain that position down into turn 13, but he can't. But all the while this is happening, this is just allowing Max Verstappen to set another fastest lap and just push out his lead to 5.5 seconds now. But George Russell, we was just talking about whether or not he could potentially fight for this lead with the hard compound tyre, as Hamilton is flying at the moment. An 18-0 from him and Max. It's a real shame really, but it's not Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton in P1 and 2, because that would be a real great fight right now. But Max Verstappen, it's definitely him, definitely his to lose, you would argue. But we've just seen George Russell make a mistake there into turn 8, and likewise any one of these drivers up front could do the same. We've seen Max make that mistake as well. Lando Norris responds with a 21.999. That is not an emergency number, guys. That is just Lando Norris's first sector time. And, well, he is going to be looking now to chase down Max Verstappen. He now has a bit of clean air and he's pulling away. He's pulled out of the DRS of George Russell, which is important for him, so he doesn't have to focus so much on his rearview mirrors. He needs Oscar Piastri really to assist him here, so that he can put some pressure on George Russell and just free up Lando to focus on the track ahead and chase down the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. But guys, if you could hit the yellow flag briefly, as Sergio Perez looks like he spun the car, went off circuit. We saw Logan Sargent lock up there. There's quite a large runoff area. So Sergio Perez briefly brings out the yellow flag, drops down into 15th position, and it just seems like that was a lock up from him. He is going slightly slow, so has he got damage in the car? I'm yet to see if that's the case, as Lando now sets the fastest lap of the race, a 17.6. Fastest sector times being shared everywhere at the moment between the top 5. It's really interesting to see, as, oh my God, Sergio Perez's rear wing is off. Sergio Perez's rear wing is off. He's leaving bits of carbon fibre all over the place, and Sergio Perez will be out of this race. How's he not pulled over? How's he not pulled over? Sergio Perez has lost control of the car at turn 6, gone in rearwards, and his rear wing is off. It's basically hanging off by a thread, and he has left. It wouldn't surprise me if we see someone potentially pick up a bit of debris and get a puncture in latter stages of this race. He's definitely dropping bits of carbon fibre all over the track. That's not good from Sergio Perez. Another driver whose rear... Oh, yeah, there's a massive piece of rear wing actually on the run up to turns 9 and 10, and there's a yellow flag as Sainz and Albon have come together. What has happened here? Is there another safety car? Is there going to be another safety car? Is there definitely not moving? With Sergio Perez now back in the pit lane and will be no doubt retiring from this race. There's a double yellow in sector 6 and 7, and Sainz has got moving again. Sainz is doing donuts in the grass and doing cutting the lawn, but it does seem there's another safety car as Alex Albon is out of this race. 2 Williams cars out of this race, and there's another safety car, ladies and gentlemen, and this is going to provide an absolute stonking end to this race. What a race. What a race this is. You can't see me, but I'm jumping up and down in my seat right now. This is brilliant. I hope you can hear it in my voice. Over 6,000 of you in the stream. I did see it jump up to over 8,000, so a big thank you. If you could hit that subscribe button. I have no idea if we're above 25,000 subscribers, but if you can still hit that subscribe button and get it over 25k, that'd be much appreciated. And I don't know how many likes we've got. If we could get this to over 1,000 likes, of course, that is our aim. I think we've got around 600 at the moment. Hit that like button, guys, if you haven't already. Get this stream to over 1,000 likes. It really helps. But Alex Albon, I'm not sure what's happened. I'm just about to see a replay. Firstly, we're seeing Sergio Perez's replay as he just completely ballsed it up, lost control of the car, and went in backwards, and complete driver error. Went off the racing line and went in backwards, which is why his rear wing is just basically hanging off. Now we're about to see, I'm sure, Alex Albon's crash. I think Carlos Sainz's car is intact, but Alex Albon's car, we're yet to see exactly what occurred with him. Sainz is into the pit lane. Are we going to see a double DNF from the Ferrari team? Surely not. Surely not. So watching Alex Albon, and Alex Albon just... Oh, Carlos Sainz. Oh, no. Oh, that's such a shame for Alex Albon. Carlos Sainz loses control of the car at exactly the same corner as Sergio Perez. He goes round into a spin, and Alex Albon, while trying to go around the Ferrari, gets tagged by the Ferrari car, and I think that is both I think that's a double retirement for Ferrari and a retirement for Alex Albon. A real shame for the Williams team. Nothing Alex Albon could do there, just wrong place, wrong time. But no doubt Carlos Sainz is out of this race also. I really doubt he hasn't got any suspension damage from that. But wow. So we have 16 laps remaining of this race. No doubt we'll still have a couple of laps under the safety car, but is Max Verstappen in P1 yet to pit under this safety car with Lando Norris in P2, Piastri in P3. George Russell has pitted for a new set of medium compound tyres, and we've also seen Lewis Hamilton pit for a new set of hards. I do believe those front three have missed the boat for pitting for a new set of tyres, guys. If they pit now, they would give the lead to George Russell and Lewis Hamilton in P2. So that opportunity has gone. So you arguably would say, of course, we have seen overtaking tough here. The overtaking scenario is tough here. Only really down into the turn 13 corner is there really a dry enough circuit. The rest of the circuit is still kind of a single racing line, but you can see that Verstappen, Norris and Piastri have yet to come into the pit. They are only on a set of medium 9-lap old, 7-lap old medium compound tyres, but George Russell and Lewis Hamilton will be very pacey here on this restart. But yeah, really unfortunate for Alex Albon, and there's your confirmation, guys. A double DNF for Ferrari. Who had that on their bingo card this weekend? Wow. Unbelievable, guys. And I've just been informed we have hit 25,000 subscribers. Thank you, everyone. Big thank you. Please continue to hit that subscribe button. What a milestone. We're a quarter of a way there to earning that silver plaque. So big thank you, guys. Big thank you. But what a race this has been thus far. What if Verstappen and Lando collide and Piastri wins? Could happen. It could happen. It's definitely been a race. The thing is that it's one small driver error we've just seen with Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz. One small driver error, taking too much curb, just slightly dipping a wheel outside of that dry line is so detrimental. And any one of those top 5 drivers could do it. We've just seen 2 of the top drivers. Perez, okay, some of you will say no in Perez, but I do consider he's in a top car. Carlos Sainz also. And yeah, they've just 3 cars in the space of 1 lap are now out from 2 separate incidents. So, but yeah, big thank you, guys. Big thank you for making this stream, making this channel get to 25,000 subs. It wouldn't be possible without you all. I'm glad you enjoy these watch-alongs. And I know I say it all so often. And big thank you more than anything for 7,000 of you basically in this stream right now for this this watch along where I'm streaming it from my hotel room on terrible Wi-Fi. So a big thank you for everyone persevering with this stream. And yeah, I'm really gutted that I couldn't be at home on the normal setup to do it, because what a race this is right now. But yeah. Was that P1 is definitely, yeah, the win is still on the cards here, guys. The win is still on the cards. So it looks like the track map is just slightly delayed at the moment. It will catch up. It does seem that the lap car may now overtake the safety car. There we go. It's picked up now. So why is Zhou double lapped right now? I don't know. I don't really care about Zhou Guanyu right now. Apologies, guys. There's a lot more to focus on at the moment. I haven't really focused down the back end of the grid, but I'll tell you what, let's take that opportunity to run through the grid right now, guys. Let's see. Verstappen is in P1, Lando Norris in P2, Piastri P3, Russell and Hamilton on brand new tyres. They were the only drivers in that top 5 to pit under the safety car for new tyres. They are in 4th and 5th. Alonso and Stroll in 6th and 7th for good performance thus far from the Astons. Sonoda up there in 8th place. Esteban Ocon, who went Sonoda and Ocon two of the biggest gainers here, really, from the safety car. They went 44 laps on the intermediates. They haven't made a pit stop until till recently, now in 8th and 9th. Daniel Ricciardo, who had a 5-second time penalty for a false start, is in P10, although he is down 5 positions from a poor start to this race, as Joe is now going to unlap himself. Pierre Gasly is in 11th, Hulkenberg in 12th, Bottas in 13th, Magnussen 14th, and Joe in 15th. And we have lost 5 drivers from this race, guys. We have lost Sargent in 20th, Leclerc 19th, Perez 18th, Albon 17th, and Sainz 16th. It has been a very, very poor, very poor weekend for my fantasy team. That is for sure. I'm relying on Lando Norris' win here, but Charles Leclerc was my double captain, and yeah, he is out of this race in P19. But thank you, Gemma. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for all your kind words. That is for sure. We're in for a cracker of a last few laps here. So here we go. We have, of course, 13 laps remaining, or it will be 12 laps remaining when we cross the start-finish line. Safety car is in, and well, here we go, guys. Who is going to win this race? Let me know in chat. Who do you think is going to win this race? Do we think it's going to be Verstappen? Do we think it's going to be Lando, who has kind of had this win snatched away from him in the early stages of this race with, of course, that unfortunate safety car timing with Logan Sargent when he had a 7-second lead over Max Verstappen and George Russell, and wasn't able to pit under the safety car. Oscar Piastri, do we think him, the silent Australian, shall we say, silent assassin, I almost feel like I want to call him, who has just been biding his time in P3, will he be able to steal a win here? George Russell on a brand new set of mediums. Need to be careful of him. He'll have that extra grip. 10 lap younger tyres than that of Piastri, and 7 lap younger tyres than Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton, who is on a set of brand new hards as well. Let's see what happens. It's going to be a cracking end to this race, that's for sure. We've already seen a few driver errors, of course, that have been very, very costly for the likes of Sainz and Sergio Perez and Logan Sargent as well. Alex Albon, unfortunately, was just well, not nothing much that he could do. But here we go, guys. Safety car is in this lap, and we are ready to rock and roll once again for our second safety car restart. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Here we go. Max Verstappen is going to be restarting this race as he heads down into turn 13. No doubt, once again, wanting to wait as long as possible to restart this race so that the cars behind have at least amount of tow as possible into turn 1. It is going to be a very, very brave man who decides to try and make an overtake down into turn 1, as there isn't really enough of a wide enough dry line for 2 cars to go side by side. There is only at the moment a couple of corners where an overtake can be made, and here we go. Max Verstappen has got the race started once again as he heads down into the first corner. Lando Norris close behind, Piastri in P3, Russell P4, Hamilton P5, and Alonso and Stroll all aboard the Alonso train, no doubt, once again, as he is on 14 lap hards with his teammate close behind on 15 lap hards as well. Those last points positions could chop and change just as much as the front end of this race could as well. But Max Verstappen 1.3 seconds ahead of 1.4 seconds ahead of Lando Norris now. A good restart from him. We'll see if Lando can stay with him. It will be important. Of course, there's pretty much gun-ho now. No tyre saving for any of these drivers in the last stages of this race. 12 laps remaining. Keep an eye out on George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, who will have that extra grip afforded to them out of the turn 10 chicane. The primary overtaking position at the moment now is down into turn 13. DRS will be activated next time around. They won't be allowed it this time, and I don't think any driver is close enough. Of course, Piastri no doubt will not be will hold back from Lando Norris here and not put too much pressure on him unless they think he has more pace so that will be able to catch Max Verstappen. But this is a great restart from Max, as he is now 1.8 seconds ahead of Lando Norris. But here we go, guys. Driver of the day, Max, potentially, we will see. Of course, there's still 11 laps remaining in this race, and anything could change. But DRS is now enabled, and this is where it's important. So Max Verstappen has a 1.8 second lead over Lando Norris. Piastri just under a second behind his teammate George Russell in P9. We do know that the Mercedes drivers, it takes them a couple of laps to get those tyres up to temperature. Fernando Alonso is not dropping too far back from Lewis Hamilton. Also, we know how punchy he can get, but it does seem like that he's losing just a bit of time under traction there. As you can see, he had a bit of a wobble, it seems, and has lost quite a fair old chunk of time out of the turn 7 chicane there, compared to Lewis Hamilton, who's on brand new hard compound tyres. But here we go, George Russell fastest in the middle sector. You do think that he would gain out of the turn 10 hairpin. Keep an eye out on that interval time. Is he gonna gain on Oscar Piastri here? He doesn't. At the moment, Piastri has the grip, and of course with the assistance of DRS on his teammate. But Lando Norris did gain a couple of attempts there out of the hairpin on Max Verstappen. There's been an incident between Hulkenberg and Gasly, which has been noted. Not entirely sure what happened there. That was in turn 12, so that was down the start. That's basically down the back straight, but you can see there, Lando Norris did gain 2 attempts on Max Verstappen. That gap's now down, is now down to 1.6 seconds. It was briefly down to 1.5, but George Russell now looking to make moves with those tyres up to temperature. Oscar Piastri is going to be looking in his rearview mirror, that is for sure. But at the moment, Max Verstappen is supreme in that first sector. That is really where he is maintaining this gap on the McLaren drivers. But George Russell exceeded track limits at turn 8 last time around. That's interesting. No, sorry, lap 51. That's ages ago. Ages ago. Not sure why that's being informed to us. Russell left behind Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, well, Lewis is on new hards. He's not going to be quick. He's not going to be quicker than George Russell. Looks like he didn't have a new set of medium tyres available to him. But Max Verstappen now getting a move on here. Responds to that lap time last time around from Lando Norris, and is about to set, no doubt, the fastest lap of the race. But Lando does catch up out of turn 10 and down the back straight here on Max Verstappen, but only briefly. But then Max just extends that lead through the first sector, where he's been quick all day over everyone else. So 1:16.6 from him, a 1:16.9 from Lando Norris, and you can see he was faster in the last sector there, Lando Norris, but of course it's through the first and second sector where he lost a lot of time to Max Verstappen. Piastri still quick enough and holding off George Russell, but no doubt that gap will continue to close. 4 attempts now, George Russell, as he is definitely making the most of this extra grip. 10 lap younger tyres that he has on Oscar Piastri. Of course, George Russell started on pole position today, but lost that position, lost that lead to Lando Norris, and then subsequently to Max Verstappen in one corner as he went wide through turn 13, and then hasn't been able to regain that lead since. But it's been a good performance from him nonetheless, as purple sector times are being traded left, right and centre between this top 5 at the moment, as it seems like Lewis might be getting his hard compound tyres up to temperature. Of course, it takes a few more laps for those hard compounds to get up to temperature compared to the mediums, but you would imagine team orders will be in place, as looks like George Russell on the back of Oscar Piastri now. He's going to go for a move down into turn 13. How hard does Oscar Piastri defend? Can George Russell get the move done? And he doesn't. Oscar Piastri defends valiantly down into turn 13 and holds off the Mercedes of George Russell, and that will be a breath of fresh air for Lando Norris, and hopefully he can focus ahead on Max Verstappen. Of course, Max Verstappen 2.1 seconds ahead of Lando Norris now with 8 laps remaining, ladies and gentlemen. But Piastri there, valiant defence on George Russell, positioning his car nicely on the inside so that George Russell had no room to go round the outside. He didn't have a sufficient overlap on the Australian, and that's why he had to just back out of it a little bit. So he will go again this time around, but you can see Piastri has now lost he's got a DRS at the moment on his teammate, but he will no doubt lose it down into turn 13. So does Lando, this is the dilemma now. You've got to think that Lando is going to be thinking, of course, about the win. He's not going to be thinking about his teammate behind. But does he back up to leave his teammate the DRS? Do the McLaren team think that realistically they're not going to win this race? It's all about a double podium for themselves. Will Lando just give back off enough to give the DRS of Oscar Piastri? Well, he hasn't this time around, as it does seem like George Russell is going to be gaining. He's going to have another go at it, as Piastri doesn't have DRS, and George Russell gets the move done on Oscar Piastri. Does he? Does he? No, he doesn't. Russell has to go for the chicane, and he's going to lose a position to his teammate of all people, as Oscar Piastri did go defensive, and George Russell, as I'm watching it on TV now, and they made contact. George Russell just turned in like Oscar Piastri wasn't there. And, well, that's a bit of a massive mistake there for George Russell, as Oscar Piastri couldn't go anywhere. He was more than sufficiently alongside as they turned in. And George Russell went through the chicane and has now lost that position to his teammate. And Lewis Hamilton could now be on the charge here. Apologies, a bit tongue-tied there. Lewis Hamilton could now be on the charge here for that last podium position. Will there be potential team orders? Could you imagine team orders? But Oscar Piastri was, I mean, he was there. There was no reason for him to give up that position. I don't know what George Russell was. I mean, we'll see what the stewards think of it, but I think Oscar Piastri is more entitled to be there. He doesn't have to slam on the brakes. George Russell did turn in like he wasn't there. That's definitely on George Russell, but we'll see what the stewards think of it. Hope that has been noted causing a collision. But Lewis Hamilton now, he will be looking at Piastri. I wonder if George Russell will get George Russell now. Is he going to do something stupid? Is George Russell going to do something stupid now? And will there be team orders? Will George Russell try and send it on his own teammate Lewis? Will Lewis Hamilton be given team orders to give up the position to George, who started on pole position today? As it does look like, barring a mistake, this is going to be Max Verstappen's win today, ladies and gentlemen. Lando Norris, you could say he could have won it as well. He is going to be in P2, but George Russell down in P5 at the moment. But Lewis Hamilton has a potential here of getting that last podium position. But Oscar Piastri is responding with a Sector 1 purple time. There does need to be a sufficient overlap on the Australian, because we've seen Piastri defend valiantly. It does seem under investigation, George Russell and Oscar Piastri down into turn 13. I don't think Piastri could have done anything else there. He was entitled to defend that position. It seemed like George Russell turned in on him, but we will see. But here we go, Lewis Hamilton, he has DRS on. Is he going to go for a move like Oscar Piastri, like his teammate did? Is he going to get the move done before they head into turn 13? He does! Lewis Hamilton is into P3, ladies and gentlemen. And Lewis, who started P5, of course, we potentially thought he might be on for a pole position or fighting for the front row, had a very poor qualifying, is now up into P3. And could he, with 5 laps remaining, chase down Lando Norris? It's a tall order, that is for sure, but Hamilton is just set the fastest lap of the race of 15.0, and, well, George Russell must be seething, absolutely seething, ladies and gentlemen. He started on pole position today, he out-qualified his teammate by 6 positions, and now he is down in 5th place. And, well, we'll see if Lewis Hamilton can catch up to Lando Norris. I'm sure Lando has a bit in the tank as he comes to the end of this race, just coaxing it home. But that was a almighty fast lap there from Lewis Hamilton, a second gained on Lando, and, well, if he kept up that pace, he might be able to catch him before this race is over and done with. But I do think that was potentially tow assisted and maybe an extra use of the batteries. What's happened to Yuki Tsunoda? Yuki Tsunoda's falling down the pack, and Yuki Tsunoda has gone off. Yuki Tsunoda has gone off at turn 8. This could be another safety car here, but it does look like Yuki's going is he gone? Is he making a move? He's trudging a little bit. He's got moving again, but unfortunately, Yuki Tsunoda has just made a big mistake there. He has dropped down the pack and he is out of the points positions in turn 14. And, well, I'm waiting to see exactly what occurred there as George Russell easily dispatches Oscar Piastri, and George Russell will now be looking at the back, the rear wing of his teammate, and of course they'll no doubt be fighting between those two. Yet to see this issue of Yuki Tsunoda as Lando Norris now responds to Lewis Hamilton closing him down, as Yuki Tsunoda goes through turn 8 and he just gets understeer. Oh my God, he carries 2. Oh my God, Yuki Tsunoda nearly got absolutely wiped out clean. He went over turn 8, he lost control of the car, he rejoins the circuit because he has no control over the trajectory of his car, and Kevin Magnussen or Nico Hulkenberg nearly wipes him out. I don't know how he avoided him. It is inches, ladies and gentlemen. If you watch this back on the highlights, watch it back on Twitter, that could have been a humongous crash. That could have been a humongous crash. But let's rejoin, of course, the start of this. Let's rejoin this battle between two teammates, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Of course, Lewis Hamilton is on his way out of the team this year. We know that really George Russell, his aim is to beat the 7-time world champion. And, well, Lewis Hamilton is in P3 at the moment. George Russell, does he have enough left in this medium compound tyre? He'll be wanting that last podium position. Hamilton will be, of course, feeling like he deserves that podium position after how comfortable he felt in the car throughout the practice sessions. But we can see Daniel Ricciardo now up into P8, and we have a double points finish as it currently stands for both Alpine drivers. Wow. That's something, guys. That is something. But yeah, if you guys, as George Russell is closing in the gap on Hamilton, if you go and check that potential near crash, that spin from Yuki Tsunoda, that is scary. It is genuinely scary, and I don't know how Hulkenberg or whichever Haas driver it was missed Yuki Tsunoda. Wow, that was just unbelievable how close that was. You're talking inches. But here we go. George Russell is gaining on his teammate as they head down into turn 13. Is he going to have a move done on Lewis Hamilton down into 13? It looks like they're side by side, and George Russell's got the move done. George Russell's got the move done on his teammate, but will Lewis Hamilton come back at him as they head down into turn 1? It does seem like he's got George Russell does have DRS, but they're side by side as they head down into turn 1, and Lewis Hamilton has to back out. Lewis Hamilton has to back out, and George Russell gets the move done. And, well, George Russell says, we are racing. Just remember, it goes without saying, keep it clean, please, is what the engineer said to George Russell. And, yeah, George Russell got the move done with that extra grip that he has on the medium compound tyres, and is now back into a podium position, which is a shame for Lewis Hamilton as he is on the hard compound tyre. He tried to defend, but there's nothing that he could do with the extra speed and grip that George Russell had out of the hairpin down into turn 13 with DRS assisted. Lewis went to the inside. Oh, actually, Lewis didn't fight it very hard. He knew the overspeed that George Russell had, and I'm kind of surprised Lewis Hamilton didn't fight harder for that, to be honest with you guys. He didn't cover the inside enough like Oscar Piastri did, and he let George Russell have that, I think, if you ask me. But 9,000 of you here in this stream, guys, as we head to the end of this race. 1 lap remaining. If you can please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get this stream to over 1,000 likes. I'm no idea where we are at the moment because I cannot see it. As we are on the final lap, Max Verstappen is leading 3.2 seconds ahead of Lando Norris, with Russell and Hamilton not far behind. Oscar Piastri in P5 at the moment. It's been a very up and down race. It looked like at one point it was going to be Russell's, then it looked like it was going to be Norris's. But then, of course, the safety car again. Max Verstappen did benefit from that safety car, and he has managed the restart of the second safety car, especially from Lando Norris. But if you can hit that like and subscribe, and let's get this, I don't know how many subscribers we've got, please do. We'll be back, of course, for the Barcelona Grand Prix in a few weeks' time for the first of a triple header where we head to Barcelona, Red Bull, and the Silverstone Grand Prix, which always throws up great races. But here we go, only a couple of more corners remaining. Max Verstappen, it's not been plain sailing today, guys, no, for sure, as it does seem George Russell closes up the gap on Lando Norris here down into down into turn 11 hairpin. Lando Norris really struggling at the end of this race with his tyre management, it seems. George Russell with those much younger tyres. But Max Verstappen has one more corner, the Wall of Champions, to get through, and he does it comfortably. He comes across the finish line, and Max Verstappen is your Canadian Grand Prix 2024 winner. Lando Norris comes across in P2, George Russell in P3, and right at the end there, Lewis Hamilton takes the fastest lap from his teammate and is in P4, so he gets an extra point for himself. Piastri in P5, Fernando Alonso in P6. Lance Stroll, his home Grand Prix, rounds off a double points finish for the Aston Martin team in P7. Daniel Ricciardo, after the comments from Jacques Villeneuve that he took personally, is in P8. A great drive from him, considering he got a 5-second time penalty for a false start. And then Gasly and Ocon round off 9th and 10th, the top 10 positions there. Was that an on-track overtake that occurred with Gasly and Ocon? I don't know. Maybe it was team orders. Of course, Ocon on his way out of the team at the end of this year. But a double points finish for Alpine is a great result for them, considering Ocon started in P20. P20 Ocon started today, and he is up into P10 in the points. Hulkenberg and Magnussen provided us with some early drama, guys, on the wet compound tyre, but it turned out, unfortunately, not to come to fruition as the track started to dry out in P11 and 12. Bottas in 13th. Tsunoda, with that mistake at the end there, running through the grass in P8, and he was very lucky not to be taken out, ends in P14. Other than that, it would have been a points finish for the RB driver who's just extended his contract into 2025 with the team. Zhou Guanyu, oh, pardon me. Apologies, guys. Bit of a burp there. Apologies. Tsunoda in P14. Zhou in 15th. And then Sainz. Yes, guys, your eyes are not deceiving you. A double DNF for the Ferrari drivers, 16th and 19th for those. Sainz making a mistake and unfortunately taken out and collecting Alex Albon due to no fault of his own. Perez in 18th there. Just a terrible weekend from him. He also lost control of the car and broke his rear wing and forced him to retire. And then Sargent, we know what happened to him, brought out that first early safety car, which Lando Norris will be ruined because he was over 7 seconds ahead of George Russell and Max Verstappen, and then got shafted by that safety car because he couldn't pit and ended up behind George Russell and Max Verstappen. And that is the end of this Canadian Grand Prix. I am so happy that this stream went off without a hitch. Of course, we had those early technical issues. We restarted the stream, and I'm so glad that the hotel Wi-Fi where I'm at held up. So big thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the commentary. We'll be back to normal service resumed on the rig, on the setup. Nice, very fast internet next time around, and you'll be able to see my beautiful face for the Barcelona Grand Prix. But who is your driver of the day, guys? Who is your driver of the day? Let me know. There is still potential, though, as I just deceived someone mention. There is an investigation between George Russell and Oscar Piastri that will be investigated after the race, causing a collision. Now, I'm not sure George Russell will get a penalty for it. I do think it's his fault, but I don't think he'll get a penalty for it because he lost 2 positions. He didn't gain a position by trying to overtaking Oscar Piastri there, and he lost a position to Hamilton and had to regain that out on track. So I think because of that, the stewards won't give him a penalty, but the collision is his fault. That's my personal opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of this stream once you've seen the highlights of it. Of course, it doesn't take long for F1 to get them up and running now. And Yuki Tsunoda's incident as well. Wow, Yuki Tsunoda's incident, yeah, is just crazy. I don't know how he didn't get collected. I'm so happy he didn't, but that definitely would have resulted in most likely a red flag. It would have been a red flag because it would have been an absolute mess in that section of the track and would have provided a very dramatic end to what was already a dramatic race. But if George Russell does get a penalty, guys, he no doubt will lose that podium position and Lewis Hamilton will gain it. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure, that will cause F1 Twitter to be in uproar, imagine. But let's give credit to where it's due. Max Verstappen struggled again, really, this weekend with the car, but still stuck it arguably on pole, of course. And then you've got, and then he kind of struggled in the first stint, and it was really Lando Norris in the ascendancy. But then, bit of fortune with the safety car gave him P1, and then he never looked back. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a driver of the day performance for Max Verstappen. I think, if anything, who do I give it to? I think I'd have to give it to Lando. I think I do have to give it to Lando. I think Lando drove a very, very good race today. I think he drove a very good race. You could arguably give it to Max Verstappen. I think it's very close between the two of them, but Lando was so good in that first stint. So good in that first stint. No hater here, Patsy, but I just think Lando was so good in that first stint and so good throughout the race. He was shafted by that safety car, and I think he put a driver in the day. I think he put a driver of the day performance in the end. But yeah, George Russell looked absolutely despondent as he's taken his helmet off and of course drying his face off for here. But yeah, Lando really drove very well. Max Verstappen arguably could be given driver of the day also. But yeah, it was a great drive from both of them. Just a shame that Lando didn't have the pace at the end. Probably took too much out of his tyres. Missed. Could McLaren have pitted under that second safety car? Maybe. I need to go back and have a look at it. But yeah, I think there was definitely a potential for Lando Norris to win that race today. But yeah, what a race. What a race. We got Monaco. If we have to suffer Monaco, ladies and gentlemen, for to get a dramatic race like this as the next one, I'll do it. I'm happy. I'm happy to suffer what we had at Monaco 2 weeks ago if we get a race like this. That is for sure. That is for sure. 1k likes. Do we get 1k likes? Hey, thank you. Thanks, Monique. Yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the commentary. And have we hit 25,000 subs? Oh my god, we did. We smashed it. We smashed 25,000 subs. Guys, thank you. We're on 25,230 odd as I am reading this right now. That is amazing. That is another 500 sub stream. I think we had over 8k viewers, something like that. But I just want to say a big thank you to you all. It's of course not possible without you all, but yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. That's going to make I can sit back, relax, enjoy the rest of my holiday. I'm gonna go grab myself a drink after this, and yeah, and just sit back, relax. And I'm so glad I brought my laptop away with me. Thank you, Mrs. Stuffey. Thanks Mrs. Stuffey in the chat, everyone. As if it wasn't without her approval of with me, actually suggesting I bring the laptop away with me, as I was going to miss this, we wouldn't have a live stream for you today. So yeah, thank you Mrs. Stuffy. But yes, Max Verstappen, he's extended his lead at the top of, I mean, it's been a terrible weekend for Ferrari. After the high of Monaco, when we think that there's going to be a Constructors' Championship, there still is, but Ferrari, a double retirement. Wow. A double retirement? I mean, I didn't have that on the bingo card. A terrible weekend from them at a track that they generally do well at. No points whatsoever. The only positive for Ferrari is that Perez didn't hurt them even more and get a podium. That's the only positive, and that Lewis Hamilton got the fastest lap and took an extra point away from Max Verstappen. That's like the only positive that I think Ferrari fans can take from that. Charles Leclerc, I double captained this weekend for the fantasy team, so yeah, that's gone well. But yeah, what would you rate? So we've just come from Monaco, guys. We've just come from Monaco, where I think we could all say that was a 1 out of 10 race, even a 0 out of 10 race. I think a lot of people could say. What would you rate this race out of 10, guys? What would you give this out of 10? Definitely wasn't in your Canadian bingo card. Constructors fight for second. I mean, a constructors fight is still on. Thank you, Gemma. Yeah, I'm glad we had no issues with the stream. I'm glad, obviously, these headphones have worked well, and there's a sufficient mic. But we'll be back, of course, to the normal setup in a few weeks' time. So 8, 7, 10, Scott. 8, 9, 9. 7, 9, 8. More interested in wet conditions, yeah. 9. 10 out of 10 if Kubixa's there. 10 out of 10, how interesting it was. 0 out of 10 for the Tifosi. It was entertaining. 9. I have to agree. I would have to agree. I don't think it was a 10. I would probably say I'll probably give it an 8.5. Maybe, I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to go with the majority. I'm going to go with chat. 9. I think it was a 9 out of 10. I think that was a very interesting race. It's been a long time since we've had a race where we've had changing conditions. Like, we had just the right amount we just had the right amount of rain for this race, guys. If we had any more, you know what the FAA are like. They would have just pulled out the red flag and we would have waited for the conditions to dry. But we had just the right amount, that we had changing conditions. We had, of course, the Haas's at the start. How great was that? Seeing them make up all those positions on the first like 10 laps on the wet compound tyres, and then it started to dry out and we saw them fall back. Then the intermediates came into play. I mean, then it was, of course, the safety cars, and then we had the jeopardy of the safety cars, and then, of course, we had the drying out circuit at the end. That's what this circuit can provide, and that is what we want in F1. We got just right amount enough of rain for that to be allowed to happen. If it was any stronger, then yeah, the FIA probably would have red flagged it, and we'd be sitting here having a very different conversation, unfortunately. But yeah, thanks, James. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for modding. Thank you for modding, guys, and Taco if he's there, and the missus as well. Of course, it's very difficult to keep on track of chat, guys, when there's so many of you in stream. Of course, I do my best to focus on the commentary, and of course answer you guys when there's gaps in the racing as well. But yeah, the mods are amazing. They obviously keep the chat as clean as possible. Of course, I know it's very polarised in F1, but we want to welcome everyone to these streams, and yeah, you're all welcome, regardless of who you support, as long as you're respectful. That is what we do here, guys. Stroll over Perez. Stroll's actually on a good run of form at the moment, believe it or not. Stroll has been he's been on a good run of form. He's had a few consistent performances of scoring points and qualifying well. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see Stroll go anywhere soon. Imagine Historynics with Russell if he was here. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, if you look back at it, Lewis Hamilton definitely doesn't fight that hard enough. Lewis Hamilton lets him... He kind of covers the middle of the track. George Russell goes to the inside and he moves back over to the outside line, like the normal racing line, and just lets George Russell have it. He definitely didn't position his car like Oscar Piastri did, where Piastri held him off for a couple of laps. And yeah, I'm surprised. Because that was for a podium position, and I am surprised he didn't fight that harder. He was on hards, Jem. Yeah, I do get that, but he's already seen George make a mistake there and have to take to the chicane. He could have held the inside line there and made it more difficult for his teammate. So I'm surprised he even with the overdrive, I don't think George would have got past Lewis sufficiently to get ahead of the chicane on the outside. It would have been a la the few laps before with Oscar Piastri. So I'm just a little bit... I'll be interested to hear Lewis Hamilton's comments at the end, post-race, to see if he mentions anything about George Russell overtaking him. I'm sure someone will pose the question, because it was for a podium position. And he didn't lose him. He didn't lose George, did he? He stayed with him. At the end there, you can see the gap. Only just over half a second. So, but yeah, look, 3 positions gained for Lewis. A race of what could have been, maybe, with that car in his hands if he qualified further up. George would rather crash and let Lewis win. That's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, he obviously wants to beat him so much. So Ferrari should just wait for when it's back in Europe, because no hopes in North America. If George was in front, Toto would have told him to hold positions so they're in points. Yeah. Why was Lewis on hards? I think he was at a medium, Scott. Yeah. Yeah, because George, in that middle stint, George was on the hards, Lewis was on the mediums. And then, of course, there was that second safety car that came out, and they both went onto the brand new set of tyres that was available for him. So they switched up the strategy in that middle stint. So that's why Lewis was on the hards at the end and Russell was on the mediums, and they was on opposite sets in the middle stint. So Aston became the new Mercedes. Yeah, Norris is being rather consistent. I tell you what, the reason why I have given Norris my driver of the day is because he has this knack. So the best drivers out there are able to manage their tyres, and it's a skill that you have to have if you want to be a top driver in F1. Oscar Piastri at the moment, as fast as he is, that's where he is lacking. And I love Oscar Piastri. I think he's a great driver. But it's definitely an area he needs to improve, and where he is weaker, much weaker than Lando Norris. He kills his tyres too quickly compared to Lando. Lando since Miami has been managing his tyres, been patient with his tyres, and just sits back. If he's not in the lead, he just sits back, manages his tyres, lets everyone kind of use them up in front of him because the pace is a lot closer now with the front teams. And then he just pounces and he just turns the afterburners on with the extra life in the tyres that he has, that he saved up. We saw that in the first stint. It was so unfortunate timing that the safety car came out when it did, because otherwise he would have been 100% leading the race. Would he have held off Max? I mean, it definitely would have been a fight between the two of them throughout the remainder of the race, I think, for sure. But he kind of did the same. I mean, he kind of wasn't afforded that at the end. He kind of had to go after the first safety car. He kind of had to go on full charge. But Miami did it. Imola he did it. Monaco's Monaco. But yeah, and then he's done it here again today, and it was just a great drive. I mean, I think that would have been his race. I think that he would have won this race if it weren't for that safety car, that first safety car, to be honest with you. Max showed his talent, didn't crack under pressure and just nailed it. Yeah, it was another great drive from Max. That's what I mean. Arguably, you could give driver of the day to Max as well. I can see that, definitely. And after the issues that he had and the lack of running he had on Friday to set up the car, I'd still be interested to see if he damaged the car, unless it was from another incident. It definitely looked like he had carbon fibre fall off of the car when he went through turn 2. But yeah, it was definitely a tough weekend for all of them. And but McLaren again looking good. Red Bull, it just shows really, doesn't it, that if Red Bull didn't have Max Verstappen, where would they be? Genuinely, where would they be? Yeah, exactly, Harlem. If Red Bull didn't have Max Verstappen, they wouldn't be winning races right now. No way. He is at the moment the difference. Because you can just see Perez, where he's a mid-pack driver, and he is struggling to get that car out of Q1 at the moment. And yeah, Max Verstappen's getting that car on the front row, winning races, digging deep. So the season is interesting. And look, this is what I have always said, guys. I have always said that, look, if Max Verstappen wins races, fair play to him. But we want a challenge. We want competition, and that's what we're getting at the moment. Even if Max wins races, as long as he's taken to the end of every single race and made to fight hard for it, and we don't know really throughout the course of the race who's going to win, that's all we can. That's what we want as F1 fans. And look, credit to him today. He dug deep and he won that race, but he quite easily could have not won that race today. There's so many things that could have gone in the other direction. Of course, the safety car and the George Russell not making that mistake. He couldn't get past George Russell for a while. It was only because he made a mistake while letting Lando through. So, but that's how it goes. That's how racing is sometimes. But what a race it was. Really enjoyed that. And it makes up for, of course, the bore fest, the snooze fest that we had a couple of weeks ago in Monaco. So, fastest out in 2 consecutive GPs for Lewis. Is it? Interesting. When do I think a decision on incidents will come out? Probably not. Probably by the next hour. The next hour, I think they will. So, Shane Ricciardo has been struggling a bit recently. Yeah, he has, but it was a good performance from him today in P8. Although he was getting outperformed by his teammate, Sonoda, who was on a different strategy, bearing in mind. But yeah, I mean, Ricciardo's day didn't start well. He had a full start, got a 5-second time penalty, lost positions at the start anyway because he got jumped by Alonso down into the first corner and he was out of position. So he was always kind of chasing the race. Very fortunate with the safety car that he could use up that 5-second time penalty. So it could have been a lot worse for Danny Rick. Could have been a lot worse. Max is better than everyone. Proved now cars are similar. Maybe we can. Red Bull is worse than McLaren at least and comparable. Is he better than everyone at the moment? At the moment, yeah, I think he is. I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think he is better than everyone at the moment. He's digging deep and he's getting results when that car is not the fastest. It's not the fastest, but then it's still kind of a bit tough I mean, we did see it yesterday in qualifying, but yeah, that car probably... Was it the fastest here this weekend? I think you probably could say the Red Bull, because Max still made a mistake in Q3 yesterday on his non-pole lap, you could say, his final lap run, so he could have been on pole quite comfortably. So I think Max still had the fastest car here this weekend, but it was only just, though. Only just. But it's still not, obviously, it's lost that advantage, that's for sure, the Red Bull car. And you can see when it's lost that advantage, where someone like Perez is driving it, where they end up. So going to start low Max because he's no. There's always a reason to support drivers. So Yuki made a big mistake, a massive mistake, yeah, and it could have been very, very bad for him in the end. Thankfully, yeah, he got out of it unscathed. But yeah, he was a passenger as he went across the grass in turn 8. So yeah, I still don't know how the Haas avoided him. You'll see it, TV coverage, Twitter. I wish I could show you stills of it, but it's inches. Don't know. That would have been a red flag, no doubt, with 5 laps remaining, and it would have provided a very dramatic end to the race, that's for sure. But thankfully, yeah, Yuki wasn't T-boned, basically, and yeah, he was able to finish the race. But yeah, a shame for him because he was on for another points finish. So Norris deliberately slowed down to give his friend Russell DRS and conspiracies, but Lando's been awarded driver of the day, has he? Yeah, I mean, he's my driver of the day, but I could see why it would go to Max as well. So as it says in the USA, I would like to see Liam take over the seat from Logan. Well, I think, I mean, it's if you've paid any attention to kind of the comments James Vowles has made over the weekend, and the rumours, Carlos Sainz is going to be announced before the Spanish Grand Prix that he is in Williams from next year. James Vowles has been singing lyrical, whatever, was it, waxing lyrical, don't know what the term is, about Carlos Sainz. And yeah, I think it's pretty much all but confirmed that Carlos Sainz is going to be in Williams for next year. It's the only kind of seat left available to him. You wouldn't want to join Audi, would you, either? So can Russell still get a penalty? Yeah, if they see fit. I think the reason they might not give him a penalty, though, Ninja, is because he didn't gain that position on Piastri, and he lost the position to Hamilton, and then he had to fight Hamilton out on track to regain it. So I think the stewards might see leniency there because of that. However, if it's his fault, he should deserve a penalty for it. I always think you should not... I've always been of the mind you shouldn't penalise the outcome. You should penalise the intent at the end of the day. If you make a dangerous move, and just because the other car avoids it and has the foresight and the reactions to avoid it, doesn't mean that they shouldn't be penalised for it. So it's the same. The way I like to compare it to is football, soccer. If someone lunges in, does a 2-footed challenge, and that person avoids the challenge, they jump over the challenge, they're unhurt, that football player, that soccer player, will still get a red card by the letter of a red card sent off, because it's the letter of the law. It's dangerous play. Just because he hasn't injured the player and made contact doesn't mean that the intent wasn't there and that it was against the rules. And it's the same with driving, I think. Just because a driver is able to continue, or they didn't gain the position, or someone avoided a ridiculous lunge where they was out of control of the car, I think they should be penalised. I think drivers should be penalised for that. It's not to remove the aspect of sends and lunges like that are skilled, but if there's clear intent and there's clear like negligence and just not in control of the car, I think that should be penalised. So I think the penalties is supposed to ignore the outcome. It's supposed to, Connor, but it never does. They never do. They never have ignored there's been plenty of cases where they've penalised the outcome rather than the actual intent. They're not the stewards aren't consistent either, because we have different stewards every single race, which is a shame. So he's definitely should get a penalty still, like he has made a decision by stewards made yet. I mean, if you look at it, I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know what exact rules are, but he's definitely turned in on him. Yeah, he's definitely turned in on him. And you would say that should be a penalty, really. So feel a little sad for Oscar. He was about to be P3. Yeah, well, look, Oscar Piastri, as we've mentioned, very quick driver, and he is definitely one for the future. And I think McLaren have a very strong partnership, and it was the right thing to re-sign him. However, he does have a weakness at the moment, especially compared to Norris, and that is his tyre management. He needs to improve that, Oscar, if he wants to have an opportunity of fighting for race wins and just moving himself further up the grid, because he just eats into his tyres too quickly. He's a bit too kind of gun-ho, Oscar Piastri, with his tyres. He needs to be kind of taking a few lessons off of Lando at the moment in a bit of patience and looking at his data of how he drives and manages those tyres, and not driving so 100% all the time, which Austria is clearly doing so. McLaren is not the fastest car, it's Norris. McLaren is definitely a faster car. It is faster now. It's definitely up there. Is it still as fast as the Red Bull? No, I think the Red Bull still is the quickest car. It definitely is still the quickest car, I think. Qualifying yesterday proved that. But then again, we're talking like Norris could easily have been on pole yesterday. He was less than half a tenth behind Max Verstappen and George Russell yesterday. So very, very close. Lando's doing very good things in that car at the moment. But look, the best drivers always get the best cars. That's how it is in F1. If you're a quick driver, you get in the best cars. No, very, very few drivers in F1 history have won a world championship in not the fastest car. You know, that very few times throughout the history of F1 has there been like multi-car championships where cars have kind of been on equal footing as well. One car has kind of always been dominant, and that's just how it is. One team and one car, and the best driver is always afforded that because they've earned the right to be in the best car. That's just how F1 has always been. So McLaren is better around turns. Red Bull is not. That's the difference. Disagree with that. Red Bull's kind of still good everywhere. They're just struggling a little bit with over curbs and bumpy surfaces. But I mean, the true test will be when we head to Barcelona. The next swing of races, the triple header that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, Barcelona, Red Bull Ring and Silverstone, they are traditional race circuits. They're GP circuits. That'll be a true testament to see whether McLaren and Ferrari in particular have caught up. We know Ferrari a bit hit and miss at the moment, but have McLaren properly caught up to the Red Bull team? Of course, Red Bull is quite vocal, Helmut Marko, that they're bringing a big upgrade at Barcelona also. So we'll see if that has an improvement on them. But yeah, hopefully. I don't know why you wouldn't want McLaren to have caught up to Red Bull, because it means that we've got consistent competition week in, week out. And we know that Ferrari will pop up as well, and they'll make improvements, and they'll have specific races that they're quick at. We'll also have 3 teams fighting up front. And Mercedes genuinely made improvements? It definitely seem to have done this weekend, but can they carry that over to the traditional circuits? We'll see. But there we go, guys. Look, I'm going to call it that. I'm now going to go enjoy the rest of my holiday. I just want to say, lastly, a big, big thank you to everyone who tuned into this stream. There's still over 800 of you here listening to myself from my hotel room. So, yeah, we hit over 25,000 subscribers this stream. I want to thank you so much. And if you could hit the like button on your way out, it'd be much appreciated. Look, I love the back and forth you guys are having in chat. We are very passionate. Keep it respectful, please, guys. Always. I do have the mods in here. If you say some naughty words or if you're disrespectful, they will kick you out. And the missus is the boss, and if she doesn't deem your language acceptable, she will kick you out, guys. So please keep it respectful. But look, Max Verstappen digs deep once again. P1, Lando Norris P2, Russell P3, Hamilton P4, Piastri P5. That is the top 5. It's a weekend to forget for Perez and the Ferrari drivers, but we head to Barcelona next time out, guys, for the first of a triple header. Barcelona, Red Bull Ring with a sprint weekend, and Silverstone. And then, yeah, I'll be back on the rig, normal service resumed. And a big thank you to everyone who tuned into this remote stream. And yeah, go and check the highlights, check Twitter, have a look at the incidents, but in particular, have a look at Yuki Tsunoda's, guys. Just look at how close that Haas was to wiping Yuki Tsunoda out. It is inches away. But yeah, big thank you to you all. Have a lovely rest of your week. I'll catch up with you next week when I'm back home doing some sim racing streams. And yeah, we head to Barcelona next time out. So yeah, have a lovely rest of your evening, guys, and we will see you soon. Bye.